Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday Show. Happy holidays, and welcome to the Tuesday Show. I am joined once again by Mr. Ultra David, Mr. Tubaware for the last show of 2020. How's everybody going out there?
James, I am fired up. I spent an entire hour and a half trimming and shaving today. It was an ordeal, and I've made it through it, and I'm excited. What about you, Tubaware?
I'm actually feeling quite well. I've been struggling lately, really struggling. But I woke up a few days ago, and my brain was like, "Hey, guess what? You're not depressed anymore, so take advantage of it." And I have. It's been good. It's been a few days.
That's good.
That's one of those.
But why did it take you an hour and a half to shave, David?
Let's just say this: what you can see now wasn't the only part involved.
All right.
Did you cut your hair too on the top of your head? Or
Negative. That's a big negative.
Okay.
It's hanging out back here. It's getting really early at the end, actually.
Trying to reel this back into being G-rated here, so you know.
Hey, everybody. Okay, so here's what we're doing today, right? We're not doing the news.
Oh.
There's not that much to talk about. And we just thought it would be fun to have a show that's totally different than what we usually do. So we're not having topics. We're not having matchup questions. Instead, we're only doing viewer questions. We got a whole mailbag lined up. People sent us emails. They asked us questions on YouTube comments. They asked us questions via Patreon message. Tweet was how we got a lot of these as well. So we have like 40-ish questions lined up. Some of them are pretty silly. Some of them are pretty simple, but some of them are pretty deep as well. So it should be cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's the idea. We wanted to run the entire gamut of questions. So, you know, hit us with what you got, and we definitely got hit. So, should we just
We did it. Yes, the Dungeon Fighter game was announced. Also, it sounds like MagFest is exploding, which is a big bummer. But I think those are basically it as far as news goes. So let's get into the viewer.
All right, sounds good. So number one question. It's going to take me a while to make sure I do all this right, but I have the first question preloaded already. First question is from JB Fornay. And the question is, what would you say to people who recently joined the FGC? Now, there's obviously more to it than that. So what would you say to people who recently joined the FGC, especially if 2020 was their first year, like me? I know locals and IRL tournaments are a huge part of the scene, but that really wasn't an option this year. I've made a lot of really cool online relationships through fighting games and Discords, but I can't shake the feeling people who've been here longer see it very differently than I do. So what would you say to people who recently joined, you know, who have only had 2020 as their experience for fighting games and don't know what it was like before then?
I feel like regardless of what you have joined this year, if there's something that you're doing this year for the first time you haven't done it before, you're getting a weird version of it.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it's fighting games or just whatever like community or hobby or whatever it is, everything's in a weird year, not just the FGC. And certainly we do have a weird year.
Yeah.
It'll probably continue. It's not just going to end like magically come a few days from now. But yeah, I mean, look, this is a hobby and a community that has always had a significant online component to it, even going way back to the 90s, even going back to the zeros, right? Like that has been a big part of this the whole time. So that's not going away. But yeah, the online aspect of it's only one side of it. The offline thing is I think what all of us who are really in the community like deeply and have been for a long time, that's what we really care about. Not just because it's like more credible to play a competitive game offline, but just because of the people and hanging out.
Yeah, I would just say it gets better. It gets so much better. So much better. I was actually just in a group chat earlier today saying how this year's kind of felt weird. Like playing fighting games is bittersweet for me because I used to have a purpose. Like I would practice to compete. And the only time I've really done that this year was for Twitch Rivals. And now it's like I'll play and like it's fun. Like me and David played Street Fighter yesterday and like it's cool and cute and all that, but it's so much better to do this stuff in person. It's so much cooler to go to major events. It's online play is fine and dandy, and it's really, really great for like learning matchups and learning how to play the game and all that. But the fighting game community is a community, and the community part has kind of been shaky this year because we haven't been able to see each other in person. So just stick with it. Don't give up. Keep playing the games. Learn everything you can, and then when tournaments come back, go there.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what I would say is I can't wait till you get to your first local, major, because it's always it's a mind opener, because what everybody always says whenever I see them at a new event, they're like, this is my first event. And I'm like, how do you like it so far and everything? Everyone's response is always, my God, it's so much nicer and cooler and everything than I thought it was going to be. Like, everyone's so cool. It's nothing like the online environment, and it's absolutely true, because the online environment obviously can get pretty toxic and drama-filled and whatever. And then you're just at an event, and everybody is just having a great time. Add on to that the Sunday finals. Everyone sits down and watches some Sunday finals, and it's always super hype. Yeah, just, I'm glad you're enjoying it. And, they're lucky in a lot of ways that we are in a period of time where we can play fighting games online. Because if this happened 10 years ago, there would be no FGC.
Imagine 2007 is when COVID hit. Like, the FGC just made it. Like, there were like 500 people playing competitively in all of North America, or whatever number, right? Like, almost nobody. So, that would have been even worse.
That would have been GG. Street Fighter 4 wouldn't have revived that.
Yep. And that's why. So we're lucky in a way that we can play these games and still have these events online and everything. But man, once you finally get a chance to go to that offline event and just experience it in person. And again, I say this to everybody. Don't even care about your results if you're going to a first one. If you're like scared of going 0-2, doesn't even matter. Soak in the environment, run into all the famous people, because that's the way the FGC is. We're not behind red tape or anything like that. So we're just wandering around. You'll see Smug and you'll be like, oh my God, that's Smug. Oh my God, it's so cool. He just walked right past me, kind of thing.
I've actually seen James do that in person in real life. So
yeah.
You've seen him 50 times. Every time he's like, oh my God, it's Smug.
Dude, every time I see Smug. Big fan. And then he looks at me, he's like, big fan. Every time. That's the inside joke. All right. Next question, simple, quick, short here from Mario Biafofia asks, will you make a funny TikTok to make us laugh?
What's the answer to that?
No.
I just realized I wrote that down wrong. It was actually Maria, not Mario.
Oh, is it Maria? Oh,
I just wrote it down wrong. That's my bad.
Okay,
sorry, Maria.
Okay.
Sorry, Maria.
Maria, there you go.
And the fact that we're not making TikTok.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
I mean, you expect old fuddy-duddy like me to make a TikTok, huh? Okay. That is not going to happen here.
Look, man, there's a lot of older folks on the tacs.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Do you see that one of the lady who is like she's like teaching you how to cook and like intermixing like all sorts of video game and anime references in it?
Yeah.
No.
Really old lady, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's not ancient, but yeah, she's definitely old. I don't follow TikTok, but like whenever that gets retweeted onto my Twitter timeline, I'm like, yes, I'm going to spend a while going through all these because these are excellent. And cool. I actually made one of the ramen ones that she mentioned, and it was really good.
Nice.
Anyway, that's my entire experience with TikTok. Let's move on.
Yeah, I do like the comment in the chat. We owe Maria a TikTok for getting their name wrong. All right. We may have to do that, so, okay.
My bad.
All right, James, you make the tacs.
Okay, I'll make a tac. All right. Next question here is from Drew Edwards in Tennessee. Specifically, it said Drew Edwards in Tennessee. What is the strongest aspect of your co-host's play style?
That is to say, like, of the three of us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if David...
in fighting games?
This is in fighting games.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Somehow I don't think David and Tuba will have anything kind to say about my play style, so,
So the whole question is, what is the strongest aspect of your co-host playstyle, or what do you hate most about playing them? So those are both ways to answer this question.
Well, for David, that's obviously one and the same thing. He's a big old jerk when he plays fighting games.
Yeah.
He is the most annoying, disrespectful. Just look at our set yesterday. I would hit him. With hands, and he would answer with standing fierce.
Bam!
He's negative a billion. He's like, nope, I'm doing fierce. So that's definitely David's strongest and most annoying thing.
Dude,
Yep.
on the hit, we're at most +3 on the hit. They're usually +2. You're gonna try to do hands after that, which are like 15, 17 frames. Yeah, I'm gonna press a button in there. That's legit. Legit.
This guy.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody out there that the last time I here on the stream, and I said to everybody, I'm like, I feel like I'm doing, the people in my Monday stream and stuff like that tell me I'm getting good at Soul Calibur. And David's response was, you know, they're probably being nice. And I think Tubo was like, yeah, no, it's just because David said it's because they want you to keep supporting. And then Tubo said, yeah, they're probably being nice. So I'm pretty sure they have nothing to compliment me on my fighting game.
That's not true, James. That's not true.
What I would say for James is that I think that you're good at having a plan and sticking to it.
I was actually going to say the same thing.
Yeah,
You play matchups and you try to learn matchups, which a lot of fighting game players, including myself, I usually just say, screw the matchup, I'm going to go in. But you actually take the time to try and learn matchups and play properly.
It's an ST thing. It's an ST thing. That's just how old fighting games work. You just learn how to fight matchups. So that's the way it works.
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely think that you have a plan. You come in and you do it.
Okay.
And the next time we play, like you've like done more research and then you have another plan and then you do it. Like that's always been the case. So I think that's legit. That's not to say boring. No, that's not the same thing at all.
Yeah.
As far as Brandon goes, the thing that I like about him is that I feel like every time I play him in a different game, he's playing it differently, which is cool. Like when we used to play in Marvel, he I guess depends on whatever character he had on point, but like sometimes it would be really zony or it would be like really keep away. Or in some games, like when we were just playing Honda, it was more offensive. And I think it's cool to have the ability to have like all these different play styles just based on whether you like the character or not. I've always thought that's cool.
Yeah, I think you said it before, man. I play characters. Like I don't have like an archetype that I love. I just pick the character I like and then I do what they do.
I mean, honestly, one of the hardest things in fighting games to do is to play what's strong and actually just take advantage of that. And that's one of the things that Brandon's really good at too. He's just, he'll play Rash and KI. He doesn't care. He played Genjuro in freaking in Samurai Showdown Season 1, and now he plays Shizamaru. So, he doesn't care. And that it is one of those things. Like I'm one of those players that like I have to play this character that does this thing, and if they're too good, I get uncomfortable and stuff like that. And it's a nice power to have to be able to just play whatever, do what you want. So
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. So Paul asks, essentially, how does one level up? To expand on that, some people will say play as much as you can. Some people will say go into training mode and find your punishes. Some people will say go to your local and find high-level competition. Some will say watch YouTube or other content such as yours. I know these answers are all right in and of themselves, but how does one combine them into a sort of training plan? Ooh,
I really like this question. Yeah, and this is one of the ones I was mentioning that I think there could be a lot of time dedicated to. There's a lot of answers to this. What I would say is that I think that they're just complementary, and that the way that I use these things, because I use these things, right? I think we all do. Training mode, playing on, well, nowadays just training online. We're playing online, right? No locals, but playing, training mode, and watching, whether it's YouTube or streams or whatever. Like I do each of these things, and for me, they're complementary. So
hang on a second. There is. Hey.
Somebody is upset.
There's a catastrophe going
Yeah,
on.
jeez. I hope they're okay.
God. Did you hear?
These are not new glasses. I've had these since like 2019.
Did you guys
It's been a
hear
long
that
time.
at all?
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, what was going on? Are they okay?
They're okay. I think Nathan was just annoying Jasmine. What the hell? What in God's
man.
name was that?
Yeah, it sounded like they were fighting or something.
Yeah, because I just saw them both run upstairs and they both look fine. But I think Nathan was just trying to be a butthole to Jasmine or something like that. Or, Jesus, okay. Anyway,
Well,
that was weird.
As long as they're all right.
so I view this as being complimentary. Like I said, playing gives me questions, and then training mode and watching usually give me answers. And sometimes watching gives me questions too, so I go into training mode and try to figure that stuff out. And sometimes being in training mode, I find new questions, and I'm like, well, this could work, but I'm not going to know unless I play it against people. So sometimes playing is the answer. But I feel like there's this kind of like rotating question and answer set of phases that I feel like I'm constantly going through as a way to try to improve. And sometimes one of these things gives me the question, sometimes the answer, and there's kind of this circle of options that I found myself going through.
Yeah, honestly, all the things are valid, and it's just about what phase you're trying to learn in right now, right? So, for example, I've been trying to pick up Marvel again recently, and, I was playing Felicia, so I play Felicia, and then you realize that there are things you can't handle. You don't know what you're supposed to do. So then you either go to training mode or you go to video to find out the things that you can do. You see the stuff in video, you then try it out in training mode, or you try making stuff up in training mode. It just all depends on what phase of the equation that you're trying to solve at that moment. Different resources will have different strengths for that, and of course cater to what you're better at learning with, right? So figure out, are you one of those kind of people who can watch tutorial videos and really soak it in? I have to watch tutorial videos and then have the game in training mode next to me so I can, test things out a little bit. Watching match videos, there's all sorts of different things. It just depends on how you learn and what you consider your strength is. So,
and also I think it has a lot to do with where you are as a player. This is your first fighting game. You need to learn a lot differently than you do if it's your 15th fighting game.
That makes sense.
yeah.
When I first started playing competitively, I started with HDR. That was like my first competitive fighting game, and I I literally sat in training mode and learned combos. Like that's what I did. I grinded combos over and over and over and over and over. And then, as James said earlier, ST, I mean, granted, this is HDR, but ST is very matchup dependent. So after I felt comfortable with my combos, I was like, okay, I'm going to learn a new character. And then I did the same thing with them. Mm-hmm. But as I progressed as a fighting game player, I started to train smarter. So once my execution was down and I could learn combos relatively quickly compared to what I did previously, I would do things like actually take notes. Like I have old physical notebooks of stuff that I wrote down from Marvel vs. Capcom 3 when I was learning the game. And I think, I still do that when I take a game really seriously. So when I was learning Killer Instinct, I came in late. I came in Season 3, the game had launched for PC then, and I wanted to basically prove to myself that I could catch up to these players that have been playing for 2.5 years already. And in order to do that, I had to go back to my old ways of taking notes. This is what this character does. They're negative X here. They're positive here. This is what punishes what. And I would write this stuff down just to help myself learn quicker. So I think it's more or less like when you're a veteran fighting game player, it's all about practicing smarter rather than harder. You need to streamline what you're doing and figure out where you're weak faster.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense to me. I used to use notes a lot. I used to bring a ton of notes to the arcade. I would print out, I probably had 20, 30 pages of like printed out notes that I'd taken on the computer and then I brought home. I brought to the arcades. That was really big for me as well. And that's especially true because I was in an era when I didn't have like a smartphone.
Right, yeah.
People used to walk up to me and show me that they printed out my CVS2 FAQ. and I was like, you killed a tree.
Right.
I was like, don't do that. You killed a tree, dude. Like, oh man.
Yeah, when Marvel 3 came out, I was working overnights at a children's home. So I worked 12-hour shifts. I worked 12 hours on, 12 hours off,
Oh, dang,
4 days
okay.
on, 4 days off. And so I had a lot of time. The kids would be asleep. That's why I like physically wrote stuff down, because it's like kind of a peaceful thing for me. Like I get all my thoughts onto paper. But also like I just had the time to do it, right? Like I had all this time of doing nothing, sitting in the hallway.
Right.
So yeah, I would think of stuff and I would write it down, and yeah, that's where I'll go from there. That's why I still wrote on paper rather than like having a Word doc or whatever.
Interesting. Okay.
But fundamentally, I feel like, at least personally, it's trying to maintain curiosity and not feeling as if you ever know all the things.
Right.
Right.
And feeling that there's always some new question to ask or some new answer to find, and these different ways are ways to find them.
One of the hardest things, honestly, when you're a beginner, is knowing what you need to learn to know. That is probably one of the hardest parts about it, because fighting games, it's just vague, right? Like when you want to learn footsies and fundamentals and whiff punishing and the triangle of footsies and all these things like that, right? Like in game, nothing tells you that you're doing anything right in that factor. You know, so it is one of the hardest things. And so, you know, in other games, you'll get a kill on an enemy hero, or you'll actually get a headshot on somebody, or you'll, you know, die, go back to the Nexus, buy some items, you'll get stronger. You feel like that there's a progression. In fighting games, it's hard. It feels like you can get stuck for a very long time, and I think that's one of the hardest things about it. So
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That plateau is something all skill levels of players go through.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're, you know, a vet or a top player or a beginner.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through it.
One of the advantages now, honestly, is social media. As crappy as fighting game social media is, like, it's just awful, right? But there's always those times where you just tweet at somebody and be like, can you help me? And they're like, sure, here you go. So, you know, like, oh yeah, do this more. Jump into, if you're a Balrog player, jump into Smug stream or jump into Brian F stream. You know, these guys will help you. Eli and Mia, for example, great resource out there. There's a lot of good resources out there. So, you know, ask away.
Yeah, Stephanie, I used to do the same when I was really competing seriously until whenever 2011, 2012 that I stopped. I would go into training mode in whatever game I was playing at the time and make sure that I learned at least one new thing, even if it was something small, just almost every day, because that was just maintaining that cycle of feeling like there was more to learn. Anyway, again, this is super complicated. Like this is like one of those questions that's just like never going to be satisfyingly answered. Like,
We could do.
There's no like soundbite that's like, here's how.
And it depends per game too. Like you're not going to want to work on your whiff punishing if you're playing Marvel 3. Like it's not much of a thing, right? So it's definitely dependent per game what you're going to want to work on and practice and think about. It's tough. It's a hard question.
We could do a 3-hour show on this question alone.
We could do a 10-hour show on this.
Okay. Let's go to the next one then.
There's a significant way in which like this 9-year show is like answered.
But shout outs to Doc Fugu, by the way. Great guy. Met him a couple of times, dude. Really awesome guy. Very, very helpful to a lot of the FGC in terms of like he lives in Japan, so he does a lot of the communications from there. But he asks, what are the biggest changes you made for Ultra Chen this year? What will you continue with in 2021? And what positives have come out of this decidedly disastrous year? I mean, first of all, I just want to say that I'm really happy with the way that we've done the layout on the show remotely. David used to drive here every week and everything like that. Once the pandemic's over, I don't think I'm going to make David drive over here anymore. I just don't think there's any point to it. I think it's just so much more comfortable for him.
You're right. It's a way easier thing to do. I set up I'm at James's place right now.
Yeah. Oh, right. My bad. I've completely...
Everything's normal, James. No, it really is a lot easier.
Yeah.
And I thought at first that it was going to be bad because I mean it would be better if we were all in the same room. Like it's just how it is. You know, you can talk to somebody more easily that way. But it's not like so much worse.
No,
Yeah, it really isn't.
it's actually worked out well, and it makes sense now too because now we have Tubo from the Midwest, and so now it all feels very natural. And not only that, I'm also really just freaking proud of the way that we have the setup so it looks like they're in the same room. I mean, most people have actually been really surprised. You know, there have been a lot of people who are like, wait, they're not in the same room? What the heck? You know, and legit are like surprised by it. And I really do like that whole setup thing. So it's worked out pretty well, in my opinion.
I'm with you. If you're watching this show on like 480p, it's not easy to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's great. I really like that. I like this sidebar. I think that's really cool. Obviously, this week is not a week where we're using that too much, but I like that a lot. Having Brock on the show is obviously a big change, and I'm really happy to have him on here as well. So yeah, I feel like we have had quite a few changes to the show this year, which I like. I mean, certainly those are spurred on to some degree by the pandemic. I mean, me like not coming there in person is directly spurred on, but yeah, I think all of those to some degree are spurred on by that. So thanks, COVID.
Yeah.
Ouch. Oh man.
I mean, it's.
Oh yeah. That's right. Alex is right too. New streaming PC. So shout outs to you guys out there for making the process that much easier as well. Holy crap.
I was actually gonna say that the stream went from, or the Tuesday show went from lagging voices and poor quality to what it is now, where it looks like we're almost all in the same room and people get fooled by that. I think it's a pretty big deal. But not nearly as big of a deal as this edition right here, baby. Woo! Going forward, 2 posts here to stay.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, for next year, we're gonna try to do bigger things. We're gonna try to grow the show even more and try to. So, I mean, honestly, if you guys at home have any suggestions on what you think, not only what you would like to see, because obviously you're already here watching, but you think that other people would like to see, you know, even bringing more people on for interviews and things like that. But, you know, do you want us to try to be more controversial? Should we talk about questions like, you know, should we ask questions like, is Perfect Legend one of the greatest players of fighting games of all time, kind of thing like that, you know, and get into controversial questions like that, you know, like, let us know, dude. Let us know. So.
Oh, that was good, James. And yeah, Wes, I since I came on, we started doing a lot of interviews, and that's going to continue from here on out. That was one of the changes I suggested when I did come on the show. Is I really liked when UCTV had guests on, and I think it's like a positive thing. I think it brings flavor to the show every week. So prepare for more of that.
Okay.
Sweet.
Anything else, or should we move on to the next one?
I'm good.
Okay.
Not that I want to talk about right now.
Oh God, this question is long. If Fighting Feng Huang asks if you have a small nugget of advice for someone getting into fighting games, what would it be?
I think it would be the same advice that I gave to the other person, and it's that it gets better. This is it's still fighting games and the fighting in community, but it's gonna get better when we can have a handle on the virus and people can be in person safe. Like that's just hold on to that knowledge, knowing that things will get better, hopefully soon.
I think on top of that, I would say just to make sure that you're enjoying yourself. This is not something that I feel you should come into expecting to immediately try hard and like win in or compete and have success in.
Yeah.
Instead, it's really more the case that everybody who has had success, who has won, they like it first. They enjoy playing, they enjoy learning. Like that's the process that matters. That is what matters, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It continues to matter at all levels, but especially when you're first coming in, pick a character you like, pick a game you like don't, even if it's not the game that's like the most popular at the time or the character that's easiest to use, just if you are enjoying yourself, you're going to naturally be more curious about it. You're going to naturally do better in it. And and find even more fun things in it.
Yeah. Captain Nemo's advice in the chat is the best. It's watch First Attack from James as soon as possible and have fun. No, honestly, my advice to people trying to get into fighting games, and actually I was talking to people in the chat about this just now, number one, I will tell you right away, fighting games are hard. That is a message that I am trying so hard to convey, because I think we're doing a disservice to the entire community by trying to say fighting games aren't that hard. They're easy. No, fighting games are freaking hard. Not just learn to play, but also to deal with mentally as well, because it's really freaking hard. But the other piece of advice I will also give is, look, all the fighting games out there are different. Find the one that works for you.
Yeah.
If you are playing Street Fighter V because everyone plays it, and you are having a miserable time, go play one of the other fighting games. Just like,
move on. Yeah.
There are so many games out there for you. You don't have to play what's popular, and in fact, sometimes if you do get into a smaller community, you find better friends and more welcoming environments that way. So play the game that you want to play, and try to experiment a little bit. Now, I am 100% aware of the fact that it's very expensive to try out games like that. But, talk to people. It's something that I've been doing for a lot of my stream viewers. Come talk to me. Tell me what games you liked in the past, and I'll try to guide you in the right direction for a fighting game that you may enjoy. So.
Also, most fighting games are on Steam nowadays, and Steam has real good sales, especially right now. Mm-hmm. So if there's something you want to try, pick it up on sale. Don't go buy all the DLC. Just pick up the base game and see if you like the game.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And Fightcade is free. That is true.
Fightcade, yeah. Fightcade has everything. Fightcade 2 is so dope.
Yeah. And I mean, dude, like Vi and Choi are playing on that thing all the time. So, it's just like there's just people all over that all day. So, yeah.
Did you see the guy that accused John Choi of not being John Choi and saying that there's no way you could throw fireballs and uppercuts that well? That was amazing.
So now the whole joke is that he's Vi called him the Macrolorian right now. So they were joking that he was using macros to throw fireballs because there's no way anybody could be that consistent at throwing fireballs. But John Choi, I'll tell you right now, you can talk about any fighting game player you want in the world, whether it's Vi or Daigo or whomever, nobody throws fireballs better than John Choi.
Absolutely.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, 100%.
Guaranteed. I mean, remember when Choi beat Daigo at EVO Ryu versus Evil Ryu in the year that Ryu was bad and Evil Ryu was good? Yep. John Choi beat him just by throwing fireballs. Chris Tatarian said it as well, too. He was like, I'm really good at footsies now, blah, blah, blah. And he challenged John Choi, and he beat John Choi in a 2-3. And he's like, I'm the best. And John was like, all right, let's play again. And then he said in 10 games straight, he lost to John Choi, who only swept and threw fireballs. And that was like all right. He did. And Chris was like, I couldn't beat him. He's like, I don't know what happened all of a sudden. So, yeah, no one can do better than that guy.
Greats, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Oh, God, John Choi. Ugh.
I still to this day watch my EVO 2008 DVD once a year.
Really?
Yeah, dude, I absolutely love that John Choi. He won ST and CVS too.
That's so cool.
Also, that DVD is a reason why I commentate.
Oh, really?
Yep. Keats and Ski Sonic were doing CVS 2 commentary.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I think Ski said something like, uppercut, 3 hits for the win, John Choi. And I was like, I want to do commentary now.
That's so cool.
That's cool.
That was my moment.
No, honestly, shout outs to Ski Sonic, like Antiparticle says in the chat. So one of the most entirely wronged commentators out there. I'll just say it. I'll just put it out there right now.
I'm with
dude.
you.
So yeah.
I've always thought he was a good commentator. I mean, I'm not unbiased. Like, he's definitely a good buddy of mine, and I wish that I could like see him more often, because he hasn't been, even nobody's going to events, but like the last year he didn't get commentary really, so he wasn't traveling, and so we didn't get to hang out, which I was bummed by.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do think that he's really underrated.
I have a cat head growing out of my arm right now. Okay. Anyways. Next question then.
Next question.
King Wiley asks, have you guys ever played a fighting game called Dong Dong Never Die?
Duh.
I know it's janky, but it's one of my all-time favorites. A more serious question, which fighting game developer do you think has improved the most over the last few years? Who do you think has deteriorated in quality, service, etc.? Ooh, that's a tough one.
Who are we gonna pull up?
I mean, for Dong Dong Never Die, I've never played it. I know what it is. I know it's like a kusoge kind of game. I've never played it though, just because I just.
Oh, I played it and you haven't.
Because
I played it.
I don't play a lot on fighting games. I'll be honest with you. So.
My goodness.
I mean, I did play it by myself. The only time that I played it was maybe it was like some CEO or something, and people were playing it, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to try?" And I was like, "Okie doke."
Yep.
And I may have been a little toasty as well. So I enjoyed it. I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened while I was playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I have absolutely no memory of the actual game itself, but I did play it once. There's a past version of me who played that game, and
I've played it multiple times. There's people in St. Louis who like to play it randomly, so they would have like their laptop with it or whatever, and I would just mess around. But yeah, I've definitely played it. As far as developer that has improved the most and one that has died the most, done terribly.
I mean, the answer in terms of improvement is NRS. Like, I just don't even think that there's any question about that, right? They revamped MKX to be rollback netcode. Their one-player content is ridiculous. They stopped doing patches every 2 months, and you know, and MK11, for all we can tell, is being supported for more than 2 years. Just don't even think that there's a question. Like, to me, it's NRS, and it's like, in terms of, especially if you're just counting improvement, there's NRS, and then there's everybody else is like somewhere down there, in my opinion.
I think over the course of 2020, it's been both Capcom and Capcom. Capcom was like on my shit list between like 2018 till mid 2020, basically, and then they had their check-in with everyone. They've been trying to improve. They actually tried to improve the netcode in Street Fighter V. The new, I guess, heads of dev or whatever you want to call them, have reached out and said, here's our timeline for what we plan on Street Fighter V. And they basically all but said, sorry, we plan on getting 6 out to you guys, but, you know, COVID. I think Capcom's line of communication is so much stronger than it was during the Ono years.
Interesting. Yeah, did something change? Did somebody like leave the company and may have...
Yeah, that Ono guy is gone. For whatever reason, that dude is gone. And things have started to change for the better. I mean...
I wonder if surely you're not implying that there's some relationship between...
You know, time will tell. Time will tell.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, David? What about you?
Yeah, I agree with NRS for sure. But I think that it's been the case that has been the case for like a dozen years, probably. Like before MK9, the games that came out before that were just not at all competitive.
Did you see the video that went around recently of Superman winning 2 rounds in a row because his special move took so long to animate that he picks you up and punches you to the floor that if you kill him with the first hit, it goes boom, Superman wins. And he lifts him up and he punches him down, and the next round starts before the guy finishes getting hit to the ground. So the guy hits the ground and has no life the next round, and Superman automatically wins the next round. So amazing. He like picks him up. He's like, Superman wins round 3. Pound you fight. The guy falls over.
Justice? Or are we talking about
no, this is on MK versus DC. This is MK versus DC.
That's what I figured. I was like, man, that never happened in Injustice.
Yeah, and then the guy just fell over, and then it goes, Superman wins again. I mean, look, to be fair, it's Superman, right?
Mildly less powerful than launch Injustice 1 Superman, it sounds like. Not
mildly less.
Not by a lot. Yeah, that game was a pile of garbage for sure, competitively speaking, and so were the few before that. So to go from that then to MK9, which I really enjoyed, I felt still had some problems, then Injustice 1, which I was like, this is cooler and better and then very unique. And then MKX was like, this is even more unique and even more balanced. And then they came out with some weird characters at the end. And then Injustice 2 came out and it was even more balanced. And they did an even better job with the patching. And then MK11's like even more balanced and the characters are even more interesting. And it's just been, even aside from like graphics and stuff, it's really been a big step up.
I mean,
so
people,
for me, that's the number one.
Dude, people are talking about launch Superman in Injustice. I mean, don't forget Superman also had the 2-hitting ground pound that you could charge for the next ground pound, and ground pound OTG'd. So you could ground pound them and they would fall over, and while lying on the ground, you ground pounded and then they would fall over, and then you'd ground pound and they would fall over. And
everybody who played that game found that infinite in a half an hour.
Yeah.
I did. I didn't buy that game. I rented it because I was like, I'm not going to like this game, but let's try it out. And I found it within the first half hour. Everybody found it for sure.
I remember when that game got announced in their launch trailer and everything, I was like, this game is going to be awful. Like immediately, I was like, this game is going to suck.
Look, so I mean, I'm kind of a homer for MK anyway, so that's maybe my unsurprising answer. But I would also, wasn't there who sucks? Who sucks? Did we get to that part?
Yeah.
Who do you think is deteriorated in quality?
I already answered both mine.
Right. He already said Capcom was for both of them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would have, if this question had been asked a year ago, or maybe 2-3 years ago, I would have said Capcom for sure, because SF4 came out and Marvel 3 came out, and then it was like Cross Tekken
and 5.
5 launched terribly, and then Marvel Infinite came out bad. So there's just like these 3 separate games that are all just at least launched badly. You know, some of them ended up, I think, being okay, but their initial launches were not good. So I would have said them. I'm not sure I would now. I feel like there's no developer to me that feels like they're dropping the ball big time. Not anymore.
Yeah. I mean, some people in the chat are naming Nintendo, but remember we said deteriorated, right? I mean, you have to actually, fall from a good place to a bad place.
Yeah.
Right? So
the thing is that Nintendo's making a great game. Like the people
they really are.
The people who are designing the game, the developers of Smash, are doing a great job.
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
Who then are like the marketing and the lawyers and stuff. I'm not big fans of.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe some people are saying SNK, and I know me and Tubo kind of feel a little bit that way just because of how badly they dropped the ball with Samurai Showdown.
If you'd have asked me that in 2019, I would have.
Yeah.
I had already given up on SNK by the time 2020 rolled around. It literally went from like, I love Sam Show. Within 6 months, I was like, they're not improving anything. Right. This is the worst. So.
Yeah, I don't know why a lot of people are saying Arxis as well, because I felt like Arxis has had an amazing year, right?
Yeah, Arxis has been killing it for the past 3 years.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, like, it sucks that Granblue's not going to get a netcode update, but other than that, like, it's been
the
good.
game is beautiful. There's so much. They had a beautiful job of designing the way the system works. They got to make Dragon Ball Fighters. They got Guilty Gear XX. They were awesome with the way they treated the rollback in XX plus R. Like I feel like, and like the Strive thing, they've been super receptive. They decided to put rollback in Strive because of viewer surveys. Like. Clearly not Arxis, and some people are saying their netcode, but I mean that's everybody, right? Like that's also Bandai Namco, and freaking Capcom had rollback netcode in Street Fighter V, and it's still not great. So
yeah. I mean, if it's not programmed correctly, it's not programmed correctly. It doesn't matter if it's rollback, delay based, etc.
Yeah.
If it's trash, it's trash.
All right, let's move on.
All right.
Next one.
So this one's an interesting one because there's like 9 questions in this one. Okay. So he says, what is one of your wildest arcade stories from back in the day? So that's the first part of the question from Mr. Yeah. I mean, it goes from number 1 to number 4 to number 5, which is really interesting here.
Well, it was all 5, but we have definitely, whatever 2 and 3 were, I don't remember.
Oh,
they're ones that we've talked about.
Okay.
So I just.
Yeah. Okay.
What's one of my wildest arcade stories from back in the day? I feel like I did not really have many wild arcade stories, actually. My arcade going era didn't start until I was in college. And I mean, I had been in arcades occasionally as a younger kid than that, but it wasn't until I went to college that I really went often. And people were pretty cool. I mean, we didn't have like the sort of legendary knife fighting that I feel like lots of arcade. We didn't. It was just like college kids basically, and whoever lived in the East Bay in Northern California, which was just a bunch of normal folks, to be honest. The weirdest were maybe the William Hung stories, who I went to college with and played in the campus arcade. And it's funny is now I feel like not even everybody knows who William Hung is, but he was the guy who sang She Bangs really terribly on what was the show's called?
American Idol.
American Idol, yeah, where you had to do the qualification process. And yeah, he went to Berkeley. He came into the arcade a lot. He was exactly the kind of guy that you would think. I mean, nice guy, but like he played Ratio 4 Blanca in CVS 2, and he never got any better. And he just would come into the arcade and do exactly the same thing every single time as Ratio 4 Blanca in CVS 2, and never figured out that he needed to improve. He would come in there. I mean, it wasn't until he like blew up in his like singing career and left school that that he stopped coming in, because he was coming in before that, and it was just always exactly the same. But that's not. I mean, this is not like a wild story. Right. I'm not like roaring. It's just, yeah, we had a guy who was maybe like a little socially awkward and was nice other than that, but didn't play video games well. That's like the extent of this one.
Do you have anything, Brandon? Do you have any arcade stories?
That's offensive. If I'm gonna like, I saw Stephanie 16-bit in the chat. She mentioned the arcade in Chicago where they didn't have a bathroom. You had to pee in a bucket of rocks. I know exactly what she's talking about. That place is called Dead 13. It wasn't really an arcade. It was a guy who had a shed, like a big working shed, where people would like, he played fighting games, and this dude was like super nice guy, big fighting game fan, not very good. He had a Shoryuken tattoo, so when he made a fist, his arm was on fire. He played Ken, obviously.
That's kind of neat, actually.
But yeah, like the bathroom system for this place, there is a big white pink bucket filled with rocks, and underneath it was the draining system. So instead of your pee splashing everywhere, you peed in the bucket with the rocks, and it would drain into the drain.
Do a number dose.
You had to go across the street to the Chinese restaurant where they would let people poop. That was straight up what we did. I went there twice. Actually, my first tournament in Chicago ever, because I moved from Las Vegas to Champaign, Illinois. A friend of mine rented a car for me because I wasn't old enough to rent a car on my own yet. I was 22, 23. They rented a car for me. I drove from Champaign, Illinois to Chicago. I think it was actually like Aurora or something, but I drove out to wherever Dead 13's shack was, and I ended up taking second in HDR. Nice. I drove to like go play in a 13-man HDR tournament where like one of the best players is Frankie G. So that was my first Chicago tournament. Frankie did play. Yeah, he played Ryu.
Frankie started playing. I guess I thought he was younger than that.
I mean, he is younger than that. He was just like 17 at the time. So he was young when he started. The Frankie G, yeah. But anyways, yeah, that's I guess that would be my wildest one as well. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, like, you want to count that as an arcade?
I guess 16-bit went to the same place back in the day. That's funny.
Yeah, Chicago. I mean, yeah, Chicago players went there for everything: Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Blah blah blah.
I mean, people probably want to hear stories about like fights and crazy things like that, and obviously, there's a lot of crazy stories like that, but I'm going to go a different route here. One of the wildest stories that I can tell. Okay, so the UCLA had an arcade, right? Really big arcade, nice arcade, wonderful, wonderful arcade. And then there was also a little mini arcade by the dorms. There was like this little tiny arcade by the dorms that was probably no bigger than a pretty sizable living room, but it was just a circle of games with just a couple of games in the middle. And so there's one person sitting at the desk there, just, here's this whole entire room. And then in the arcade at UCLA, pretty large, and there was always one person sitting at the register and one person wandering around. Late at night, it gets very boring and stuff, so a lot of times they just play games or whatever. One night, during my tenure at UCLA, I think 2 games from the big arcade got stolen, and 4 games from the mini arcade got stolen in that night.
Like arcade cabinets?
The board inside the cabinets were taken out of the machine. And in that tiny little mini arcade that's just one room big, 4 of those machines got jacked. And
was it like an inside job? How did that happen?
Nobody knows. We have no idea.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't believe that that can't be worth committing the crime for. Like, you can't be selling those boards for that much, right?
They were thousands of dollars. They were worth thousands of dollars, dude. Like, one of them was like a brand new dude. I was working at the time, but I wasn't on shift. I was an employee of the arcade. But there was one day where they all on a weekend just sat down and played Puzzle Fighter. And they saw it on camera. A guy just came in a makeshift fake looking, like, hey, I work here, and just started undoing the Street Fighter EX machine. And the patrons were there. They just thought he was working there. The workers were all sitting there playing Puzzle Fighter with each other, and they were not paying attention. And the guy just opened up the camera, took the board out, closed it back up, and walked out with it. Like, it's like on the video of that. Like, it's literally just like that, and that has actually happened at the UCLA arcade.
If you pretend like you're supposed to be somewhere, you can get away with so much.
Yep.
How do you think my commentary career started?
Supposed to be there. That's it.
Yeah.
That's how I started commentary, man. I walked behind and I was like, yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this right now. That's legitimately how it started, dude.
Yeah. I mean, before I started working there was a Tekken 3 machine, I think, that got stolen. And literally, I saw the guy who stole it. Like, I thought he was working at the arcade, too. It was like me and one of my friends named Daryl. Daryl Yip, shout outs to him. I'm still friends with him on Facebook, which is cool. Like, we were just sitting there watching some Alpha 1, having a good time, saw some guy going into the back in between the machines. He looked like a worker. We're like, whatever. We went to class, and when we came back, we found out he stole a Tekken machine. So it's like...
Man, confidence will get you so much in life, including stolen arcade boards.
As much as I hate the jokes, the trope of movies where someone walks in and be like, we're supposed to do this. Oh, you don't want me to tell your boss about this, but that probably actually works.
I mean, yeah. Especially at an arcade with a bunch of 19-year-olds, you don't really care that much,
Yeah. And again, they stole the board out of the machine, so the cabinet was still there, but they would take the boards out of it, and that used to happen, dude.
Genius.
So there you go.
All right.
Part 2 of this question. You are now producers of Capcom's next Street Fighter project. Your obvious top priorities are to create a game that will be profitable on launch, which shouldn't be too hard based on brand recognition alone, and sustain a player base that will continue spending money on the game post-launch. What core design principles do you execute on to achieve this goal? And do you foresee a conflict arising with your competitive players who are often stereotyped as valuing and desiring game designs that are not conducive to mainstream appeal?
Is this from Capcom?
They're trying to get our ideas.
No, we're out of ideas. We're not sure what to do next.
Signed, Yoshinori Ono.
See what Ultra Chen has to say. Yeah, this is
all right.
Someone's doing some research on us.
I've always said this, right? My advice to making the next Street Fighter game is think of what you want in a Street Fighter game and make that. Have a theme, have a goal, have concepts that you want to go for. Don't go the Street Fighter V route where you make a Street Fighter game based on what everybody hated in Street Fighter 4. Do not do that. Find a theme that you want to do. For me, if I made Street Fighter 6, I would make a virtual sequel to Third Strike, and I would give everybody Gil-like parries and parries in the air and stuff like that. I would make it a new transition to this kind of a Third Strike style. I would make parry the main mechanic again and kind of do a spiritual sequel is what I would do. Even though I don't dislike parries, that's what I would do because that would be my vision for the game, and I would try to make a game like that. So...
Well, what I would say to Mr. Yashinori Ono is...
this Yoshi Ono Aha. Yeah, that's his name. So
no, that's from Niwana in chat. In any case, yeah, I mean, this is a complicated question. I did try to think about this before because I saw these questions obviously in advance, and I feel like I'm just like not a game designer. And I was trying to think, like, what would I say? Like, what core principles would I execute on to achieve this? I'm not sure that I know what that means in this context, to be perfectly frank. Like, I've never put that kind of stuff together. I haven't thought about how to design a game enough to, like, know how to really approach the answer to this. Mm-hmm. I would like fun stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can write the contract for it. Let me know if you need me to do that. That's all I can.
You know, I don't know, man. Like, I'm with Dave. I don't know what the hell I want to see in any Street Fighters. Make it not suck. I don't know.
Yeah, see, I
mean,
mean...
I'd make it not suck.
That's the thing is, like, I mean, I know this because I've had long car rides with Keats before, and we sit here and talk about it for hours, but, like, I want to make a fighting game. Like, I would love to. So I've thought about it, not even just from a gameplay design.
I would too, but not a Street Fighter.
Oh,
I think
right,
making a Street Fighter is too limiting for my vision for a fighting game.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? So some people are saying that, Third Strike type of game would be bad for new players. You can do it in a way that would work. And that's the thing, is I've thought about it a lot, and that's why I would do it in a Gil-style parry, because then there's whiffs on parries, instead of the option selecting ability and stuff like that. Like, if you jumped and parried, you would have landing recovery frames. So if you baited out an air parry, you could punish them when you landed. It would be button commands instead of joysticks, etc., etc. You could totally do it and make it work in this really cool, creative, fun way without having to resort to all of the Third Strike kind of craziness in that game. But what I mean by Third Strike themed is I would have the storyline going towards the Gil path. I would definitely bring back all the characters that have not come back yet. Necro and 12 and Remy and Q. I would bring all of those characters back because they haven't been there yet. They haven't returned since then.
I can't believe that you're saying this. You hate those characters.
Yeah, I do. But again, that's the important thing. I'm not making a game for me. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm making a fighting game like that, I have a vision, I have a design, I'm making a game for, like, a theme. And so even though I don't like parries and I don't like that character, that's the game that I would make. So that's just how it works.
I would love to see 12 back.
Yeah.
I would hate it so much into my bones if any of those Third Strike characters came back. There's a few Third Strike characters that are cool, Yan and Yang and such, but like Necro,
I can't believe
Necro is the wackest character I've ever seen in my life.
Yan and Yang are the cool characters.
12 is so plain.
All right, so the last part of this question, we have the option of skipping. So let me just paste this into the chat for you guys over here.
Yeah, I'm cool to talk about it. That's why I put it up there.
Oh, you are? Okay. So
are you?
Yeah, I mean, if you're cool with it, sure. The last part of this question is, please skip if too personal, but has Gutex ever hinted in the past about holding his alternative views? I ask only because it doesn't seem likely that 2020's turmoil alone caused him to seek answers elsewhere. He probably had these kind of views and thinking for a while, but may have just chosen or not felt the need to bring it up until recently. Either way, I wish him the best and am forever appreciative of his efforts in pioneering FGC content creation.
I definitely agree with the last sentence there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He had a lot, and not just content creation, but like the idea that you could make money in a community that you love and not feel like you're like being a skis about it. Because that's how we all used to view anybody who was making any money in the scene.
Yeah.
It was really rare, and in any case, that anybody would try to do it. But when Ryan and Mike started doing it, a lot of us were like, I don't know, and we were just kids about it, I think, and yeah, you know, and obviously my views have changed on that. So I've that's something I would like place on him as well.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I didn't talk with Ryan about this kind of stuff back in the day. Like we would hang out sometimes, usually in the context of playing fighting games. Sometimes we would go out to dinner or whatever afterward, but usually in fighting game contexts. So we weren't talking about politics, really, to be honest. We did definitely used to talk about things that were maybe tangentially related. We were both really opposed to overly strict copyright, and I feel like he and I had similar positions on that. So we would talk about not just piracy, but open source stuff, which has always been a big focus for me. I've been doing law on that for like a decade, so that's something that I really appreciate. So we talked about that. But as far as like more in-depth like political stuff, we never did it. So right. I don't, certainly not that I can remember anyway. So the honest answer is I don't know. Don't know.
Yeah,
people are asking like what are we talking about? He's kind of jumped the shark on thinking that like COVID is a hoax and masks don't work and I don't know, Trump can save us. And
just very, very heavily like alt-right conservative thinking.
I mean,
kind of information spreading.
Conspiratorial thing, right?
One of the weirdest ones was that, you know, R. Kappa started talking smack about him. And he was like, what happened to you guys? I thought you guys were always racist and misogynistic in here. Like, that was to say you should be supporting me because you're that, which was weird. So,
yeah, it was a strange double down on that situation. But as far as like the Gutek situation goes, like in general, it's been hard for me to not, even though it's definitely not personal whatsoever, it's hard for me to not take it that way because a young Tupperware in 2009 worked at Best Buy in Las Vegas, and he had just started playing Street Fighter 4, and he was ready to go to EVO, his first major event ever. And who else walks in but Edma and Gutex?
Right.
And I recognize them. I'm like, you're Edma and Gutex. And Edma was not interested in talking to a fan, but Gutex was all about it. So we exchanged information, and we got to talking. We became friends. Like I wrote for his website. We played Street Fighter 4 together all the time, like very often. And I kind of credit him for me not being a terrible fighting game player. Like that was one of my main training partners for a bit in terms of like, I'd be bored on the weekend and hit up Gutex and be like, yeah, let's play games. So it's been weird for me to see such a drastic jump, but also like David said, we didn't really talk politics. We didn't really talk anything. Like, I didn't think his view of the future of monetizing content creation was weird or bad.
Right.
I was like, that makes sense to me. Like, get paid, you know, like that's fine. But on like the same thing, like I feel like a lot of people became heavily political in like 2015.
Yeah.
Many of us didn't really talk about these things. I just think it worked out that the majority of the fighting game community is more left-leaning. So when somebody like Gutex, you know, is a prominent member of the FGC and they come out and say things that we don't agree with, it's very shocking. So yeah, it's been hard for me personally to like think about and deal with for a little while. It's been really kind of depressing, but
yeah,
the dude has his views and he's dug his heels in and he's not going to change. So I just unfollowed him on Twitter and let him rock.
Yeah. It doesn't bug me if somebody isn't also a leftist. Most of my friends and family are not. They're not also leftists. That's never been the case for me. A lot of them are more. I mean, certainly center. Some of them center right. That's totally fine. What bothers me is the more conspiratorial stuff. If you have different views on like what tax policy should be, that's fine. We can like talk about that. But the idea of like, is COVID-19 some hoax or a pandemic or whatever is just wrong and stupid.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
And dangerous. And if you have a big platform, extra dangerous for you to be talking about that stuff. So that's, does he vote for Trump or whatever? I mean, I'm not super stoked about that, but like the difference between that to me and just the straight up conspiratorial stuff is significant. Yeah, and I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm not going to rag on it too much. It was very disappointing for me to find out that he does feel that way. I hope that it's something that he gets past at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, I think Excellent Adventures and Mike Ross and Gutex is absolutely the best content that the FGC has ever produced, and will remain so until someone can do something, because it brought in so many people and everybody tried to steal it. Right? We had our almost adequate adventures. There's the
almost adequate adventures.
There was the bogus journey, that Rip and them still do. Everybody had some form of like, descriptive adventures or whatever, to kind of do. Excellent Adventures was the greatest content ever made. And I had some people that were like, dude, that content is awful. I could do better content. And I was like, then do it. And then that would be the end of the conversation.
I mean, the thing about Excellent Adventures, man, it was pushed by their personalities, which was great.
Absolutely.
I mean, I still go watch Mike Ross stream anytime he goes live. Like, I absolutely adore Mike Ross. I'm so excited every time I see him.
They're dynamic.
So, it's like their personality and their dynamic. Yeah, it was just
their chemistry was. I mean, the thing that hooked me onto the show, the funniest one I had the most I ever laughed at one of the Excellent Adventures was even before they had video, where it was just you could hear them. And they were just doing the radio thing, and Mike lost something, and you just hear this, like someone threw a joystick on the ground, and you just hear Gutex going like, Mike, where are you going? Mike, where are you? Oh, he's going out. Oh my God, where'd he go? And I was just cracking up so bad. Like, they did such a good job with the show. And again, like, they are absolutely pioneers, and Gutex has done a lot for the community.
Sure.
Talking to someone who knows Gutex, because I was curious too, like, was he like this a lot? And, the person said that always had a lot of conspiracy theories. There was always a lot of conspiracy theories, but I think that the pandemic kind of just threw it out there because there's conspiracy
that
theories.
A lot of people.
Yeah, conspiracy theories were everywhere, right? They're just all over the place. And, I've had my ups and downs with Gutex personally and everything like that. So, it's hard for me really to say. But, I mean, just judging, I've never had any conversations with him about conspiracy theories or anything like that. It came out of left field for me, which is why I even had to ask in the first place. It makes me sad because, like I said, like David said, right, he really changed the way the FGC worked as content creators. He paved a lot of ways. Capcom had to cease and desist their Akuma guide and stuff like that, and that changed because
they hired a young FGC lawyer to help them out with some stuff.
and
I mean, that was helpful for me as well.
Yeah, they paved a lot of ways for how the FGC, even developers, interact with a lot of the content out there. So, regardless of what you think of Mike Ross or Gutex right now, like, they did a lot of great stuff for the fighting.
They were pioneers.
Yeah, they did. Absolutely. So, and, it is hard. It's like Kubo said, it's hard to see this kind of conspiracy theory kind of stuff going down. And
yep. It's pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah. That's all I'll say about it. So.
Yeah, on to the next thing. Let's get back to the positivity here.
We missed a question above.
What's that?
We missed a question from above.
Oh, did we? Did I accidentally skip one? Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay.
Let me do real fast. It's not going to be a long one.
Okay. From Jace. Oh,
I didn't like
interesting.
Breath of the Wild when the game first came out, and I was pretty vocal about that. I didn't think it sucked, but I didn't get it. And then later on, Jace heard me say that I really liked the game. What changed? I think when I change my mind on something like that, because that happens like not infrequently, that I'll be like, I think this sucks, and then actually good, or whatever, the opposite. Happens all the time.
Doesn't happen with Samurai Showdown.
No, you're right. It didn't. It's not something that happens in every case. It's just like not uncommon, and it's just a different conception, I guess. Sometimes I come into things having some kind of preset idea about what I should be looking for, or what would be fun, or what would be a cool challenge, or whatever, and that conception itself gets in the way of me enjoying something. You know, or I learned something new about the way that I can enjoy things, or whatever, right? I basically learn more, I think is what I would say. And that happened with Breath of the Wild. Like, the game came out, and I was like, well, I don't have enough time to just like sit here and find a billion shrines. What's this game about? I'm just going to beat like the 4 main bosses and then Ganon, and then I'm going to get out of here.
Yep.
And I did that. And I didn't really enjoy that process very much, because those, again, it wasn't bad. Each of those beasts were like interesting enough. It was just pretty short. And then I was like, well, whatever, that's it. That was the end of the game. Boring. And then at some point I didn't really feel like playing fighting games for whatever reason. You know, you go through the phases like that sometimes. And I didn't have any other games that were out that I hadn't finished and like completely finished. And so I think we were traveling somewhere, and I had my Switch, of course, and I just was like, well, I'll play Breath of the Wild for the next like 5 hours or whatever this plane ride's going to be. And I found it really fun to explore and to find new stuff, and to find all the little bits of extra story that are actually in the game, and all the things that you can do that you wouldn't even know are in there if you just kind of blitz through it. So yeah, it was just, I didn't intend to like give it a second look necessarily. It was just kind of a set of circumstances, but I'm glad that it happened, because I ended up learning stuff that I could
for me,
enjoy that I didn't think I would originally.
Yeah, I think the reason why I enjoyed it is because for me it was like, you need to go from here to here, and I started going I just like I did this. I mean, people watched me stream most of it, and like I had played for probably like 40 hours, and then I finally got back to the story, and everybody was like, you haven't done this yet, you know, kind of things like that. So
it's a really good game to just ramble around in. Yeah, Kevin Amati, I think that I wouldn't probably put it in my like top favorite games ever, but I do think that it's a really good game. I really, really enjoy it after all, and I'm looking forward to the new stuff that's coming out. So anyway, no need to spend a ton of time on this, but that's what happened.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the next question here from Planet Chaser. Oops. Would that work? No! All the FGC commentators are now characters in a fighting game. Who would you main?
Ultra David.
Yeah, I think that's pretty easy.
I would make, of course, I would make Ultra David.
I mean, he would have a command grab and have Dhalsim. He would be Chrome Dome from.
I would be Chrome Dome. Right. Yes, of course.
Or Seth.
Yeah, the question is, who would you main and or pocket? What's their movement, play style, their stage, and the best and worst matchup when up against each other? My character would definitely die to David's character.
Cyrax Net, Chrome Dome, Cyrax Net, Cyrax Bomb. That's my character.
Yeah, my character would lose to David's character for free. I think that would just be a thing. So,
well, I always pick top tier, so I can only assume that myself would be top tier. I don't know what I do. Actually, I do know what I do. I don't know if all you guys out there know this, but I was on a show called Scare Tactics.
Oh yeah,
way back in 2008. And instead of, I mean, I was scared, but instead of getting scared and falling for the prank, I tackled the actor and beat the shit out of him.
All right, so you think that this guy is murdered somebody and is about to murder this other woman?
All right, so the situation is, I thought I was on a show that was like Cheaters. We're staking out this guy cheating on his girlfriend. We go into his workplace. We don't see anyone. We go into like a warehouse area. the guy appears, comes in behind us, and closes the door, and there's a dead body of the girl he'd been cheating on with. So he grabs the other girl, and he's like, look, I did this for you. And as soon as he turns his back to me, I tackled him, and I just beat the piss out of him. So my finisher would be the Tubo tackle.
And the nice thing about it is that the footage as well. Oh, shout outs to Antiparticle for the subs, but the footage doesn't even show the extent of which you beat the crap out of him too.
Yeah. No, they actually they didn't plan on me doing that, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't get a good camera shot of me like punching him. But I remember, very well. The guy was like on his belly because I'm a bigger dude, right? This guy's name's Sven. He's a 6'6" German guy, huge dude, but his back was to me. I tackle him. He's on his stomach, and I'm just mounted.
You were
wailing on him.
Player not that long before this.
Yeah, like a year prior. So. Yeah, I mean, my buddy John that recently retired from the NFL, he showed it to his friends, and they're like, "Man, his technique is so good." Like, dude, dog, I played ball.
I just love the fact that Joel in the chat says that they remember that episode. That was you.
That was me. Oh, there you go. St. Cola just.
They got it in the chat. The chat is in there. I mean, that guy Gandhi up there has it as well with the timestamp as well.
Oh yeah,
so
there
you
go,
guys can actually watch that. I
but
guess
yeah,
David, if you could, if you
me.
want to try to put it in the notes again, the timestamps again. So yeah. I mean, I would probably main Sajam because I'm pretty sure he'd be broken and top tier. And you'd probably just hit like 3 buttons and they'd die. You know, like he'd probably.
He would have a boring play style for sure. In every game that man plays, I mean, he's a great commentator, but when he plays video games, he likes to use characters that are, in my view, uninteresting.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, that guy is he's so good at fighting games. So I just imagine his character would be a kind of broken. So I would not main myself because I would definitely be bottom tier because I've always been a low tier player my whole entire life. So it's just kind of feels like that would be fitting, right? So I would definitely be a low tier character. So,
if you guys are watching that video, by the way, when the host pulls me off of the guy, that was my acting debut. So like I was saying, they didn't get a good shot of me actually beating up the actor because they didn't think I would do that. So they're like, hey, we need to refilm us pulling you off. Because in real life, when they tried to pull me off, they caught elbows because I was full adrenaline. I was like, this guy's going to murder us. I got to stop him now. Nobody else is doing anything. So, the one person pulling me off isn't what happened. It took 3 people to get me off this guy.
Okay, I never heard that part of the story.
Yeah, I was like full. I'm very shocked I didn't have a heart attack. I was
and
full adrenaline.
And the guy that you beat up, I mean, you beat him up pretty badly, but he was a really good sport about it too, right?
Oh yeah, he was the nicest dude ever. But I've never seen somebody so happy to get punched in the face.
Right. I mean, he was probably really proud of you, to be honest. He was probably.
It seemed like it, yeah.
Yeah.
He was more pumped about the whole thing than I was, to be honest.
Yeah. He was like, good shit, you are a good man. So
I do my best.
Oh, man.
Cool. All right.
Oh, dude, that's a good idea, Cone. I'll use that for your intro in the Tuesday show title.
Yo, that's a good idea.
Back when I was still a competitive sports game player, the All Pro Football 2KA community made gifts of me doing that. I could probably send them to you, James.
Yeah.
I could grab it off of the YouTube. Don't worry about that. But that's hilarious, dude. Can you post the link into the chat really quick, David, so I have access to that?
Oh, yeah, you mean into the Discord?
Yeah, into the Discord.
Man, I had hair and I was very thin compared to where I am now.
Oh, man.
Well, I shouldn't say that. Back in like May 2019, I was about that same weight, so I just didn't have the hair.
All right. I mean, we're going pretty slowly through these, so let's go.
All right, let's ramp it up, folks.
Let's get to the next question over here.
We got 40 to get through.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I don't know how. Okay, what is the point? This is a tough one to pare down. So Alpha Attack or Alpha B Attack says that David says that fighting games are all 75% the same. what would he change in a fighting game to lower that number? And at what point would it become not a fighting game? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, this is a thing that I said on Twitter the other day when, who was it? Was it Ace King Offsuit had a tweet that was like, "What's your hot take before the end of the year?" Whatever. And I didn't actually think this was a hot take. I was kind of surprised by the result, by what people said. My feeling is that most fighting games, all fighting games are mostly the same. And that fighting games in the same subgenre are even more mostly the same. And to me, that just sounds like definitional stuff. Like, of course, a genre will have most of its, will share, games in the genre will like definitionally share most of the same attribute.
And what you mean by genre is like Dragon Ball and Marvel are in the same genre, right? Because they're team-based.
Well, I would say the fighting game, in the fighting game genre, and in the subgenre of Marvel games.
Right, yeah.
I would say versus, but yeah.
Or versus, right, yeah, that's better. Yeah. So I was surprised at the response, because that just seems like it's not a hot take. That, like, if we are talking about a certain kind of fiction in a book, it's a book. It's a novel. It's written down. It's a murder mystery. So you're just constraining each like thing that gets down to the subgenre is you're constraining what it can be. And at some point, it's like pretty similar. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be the same. And you'll have books that you prefer or not. And it's the same way in fighting games. A fighting game, to be a fighting game, has to have most aspects of itself be similar, like, or else it's not a fighting game anymore. It's just definitional, right? So I just was surprised at the result.
Yeah,
but
it's funny because
look, this is not to say that games can't differ. Instead, the way that it feels to us as people who know the games really well is that the few like percentage points of difference between some of these feel really magnified, and even in some cases, if it's just like a one thing away, this game is the same game as the other, except it doesn't have an invincible backdash, right? Or whatever, something that's almost the same. It can feel really different as a result. You play it really differently. But the truth is that that's actually super similar. You're just not focused on all the other ways that it's super similar.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I first heard it, I disagreed with it entirely. I was just like, this is not true at all. This is blah, 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 blah. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought about the way David was probably intending it. I think he was looking at it from a more macro level. And like even within like 4 tweets, I was like, you know what? I don't even disagree anymore. I was like, I don't even disagree anymore because he's coming at it from a different way than I'm thinking about it. And I think the way that he's talking about it, yeah, I think it's true. It's true, right? So like a lot of the fundamentals in there in fighting games are the same. What was really interesting is when Keats got into it and he started talking about what he thought makes a fighting game, and he started talking about stuff like hit stun and, you know, the factor of losing control over your character and stuff like that, you know, moments of that. And I really want to talk to him about that one day, just because I think it would be fascinating to see how he defines a fighting game. Because for me, stuff like ARMS, Virtual On, Outfoxies, like these kind of games are all fighting games to me. I have a very broad definition of fighting games. Okay. And so, you know, I'd be really curious to see, you know, how that goes. Everyone's going to have a take on it. And also, I agree with Keats that, you know, he says 75% of the fighting games are 75% similar, not because they have to be, but because people aren't creative enough. And his kind of take on it was like, we can get a lot different. It's just no one is brave enough or inventive enough to try. And, you know, I have thought of a lot.
I think it wasn't just that the devs weren't creative. I think it was also what he meant to say, I think he did say, was that the consumers wouldn't accept it in many cases.
I mean,
right. So it's not just about like what do devs want to make, but what would people actually buy and play and not be mad.
I think that's the more important part, is that people, if you try to make something outside of the box and call it a fighting game, people get upset. People still argue if Smash is a fighting game when it's definitely a fighting game.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely a fighting game, but people, you know, they get upset and want to argue semantics about it.
Yeah.
Rocket Arena, no, it's not a fighting game. Rocket Arena is absolutely a third-person shooter.
Yeah.
Third-person shooter, huh? Interesting.
Third-person shooter, yeah.
You don't think it's just soccer?
What's up?
Oh, Rocket Arena.
Rocket Arena. Yeah. No, not Rocket.
Yeah. I mean, Honestly, I mean that's a good one. Like Osohe in the chat mentioned Pokken. That's really different. I wanted to create.
Yeah, that's a fighting game.
I wanted to create a versus Yi Kung Fu. And I wanted to make the controls work exactly as Yi Kung Fu worked. And I would have done something really, really different with it. There's another fighting game that I wanted to make that was going to have very little footsies in it. You know, that your characters would kind of be stuck on each other for the most of the time, because I wanted to create something based off of the old Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movies, you know, when they fight, it's always, you know, that it's more about the blows, and you only separate when one guy gets a hit and goes, you know, and the guy goes, and they come back in. But I kind of wanted to make a fighting game where
no footsies, just always
like not necessarily no footsies, but that's not the focus on it. You know what I mean? Like I have all these ideas about ways to do fighting games. The way I wanted to do the Rival Schools game was going to be very, very different as well. And so, you know, I think that there is a lot of room for it. So that's why I wanted to make it, because I want to try to make some of these weird things like that. So, but
I did consider For Honor a fighting game. I played it a bunch when it came out, and I thought it was a pile of garbage.
Yeah, it sucks.
My understanding is that they have changed it a bunch, and that now it's a better game, but it was just really easily solved from a fighting game player's perspective. And at least at that time, I don't know if it's different now, people were mostly just playing one-on-ones. And the idea of like having team-based stuff, cool ideas for sure. But the execution of it, I didn't like. I didn't think it was a good job. Maybe it's changed since then, but to be honest, like I'm moved on and I haven't looked into it.
Okay.
Yeah, 16-bit Hero loves For Honor as well. He still tries to get us to play sometimes, but ain't for me. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. People. One day people will just accept new stuff, but until then, we're gonna keep getting the same old fighting games, and I'm okay with that. I like those.
I like fighting games, so I'm not super.
I'm okay with it.
Smash is not a fighting game. We're gonna get that for the end of time.
Forever, and whatever, they're wrong. So
yeah, you remember who won the For Honor tourney at Final Round? Wasn't it Kazunoko?
It was Kazunoko and Goichi, I think it was, or something like that, because they did a team thing.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, so what would be your top guess as to what the new battle mechanic is for Street Fighter V? I mean, the easy answer is a second super, which is what a lot of people are guessing it would be. If that's what it was, I will be very sad, but that's going to be my top guess because that's simple, it's easy to do, and basically that's it. So
maybe a second V reversal.
What's that?
That's been second V reversal has been rumored for like 5 years.
I want an alternate V reversal. I really do.
I think that'd be cool. I'd be down with that.
I've always wanted something that costs, instead of V meter, costs super meter, and does not, like, I've always described it as a instant throw, so it doesn't work on people in the air, and also that way you can't push block, for example, Karen's crouching medium kick and cause her special move to whiff. So if you trigger it, you automatically grab them, push them away, be at like -1, but you push them for no damage, and now you're at like this far away.
So it's like an automatic throw tech.
Injustice.
Basically. But like I said, I just don't want it to have that thing where now all of a sudden if I push block this special move, now you end up whiffing. You know, I don't want that added to the game. That's why I would make it a special throw, because that way it would, and then it wouldn't work on jump attacks either too, which I think would be really important as well. So yeah,
I think it'd be nice if each character had they're basically three like categories of universal in Street Fighter V. You got the fast hits, the regular hits, and then like the rolls or whatever escape move. And I think it'd be cool if each character had the option to pick not necessarily one of those three, but like each one had 2 of those 3.
Oh yeah.
So maybe like one character has both the fast hit, which can punish or which can hit mediums and lights sometimes. Like Ken's can do that, right? Fast ones can do that. And also, maybe you have the slow one, which is just used for different stuff. Like I think that could be a cool set of little mix-ups you could play defensively, but I don't know.
No,
I'm assuming it's another super. I mean, that seems like the very obvious answer. I've said it before, but I feel like Street Fighter V is probably being worked on by a skeleton crew, while 6 is being worked on the actual crew that they want the game to be developed by. So they're going to be making simple updates. I think I don't feel like we're going to see anything major when the new mechanic is released.
Yeah, that's actually.
But I could be wrong. I mean, I remember when Ultra got leaked and people were talking about red focus. I did not believe it. I was like, that can't be a thing. That sounds real stupid. And then it was real stupid.
It was.
So, yep. Who knows?
The rumors that I had heard is that red focus has been a mechanic that has existed in development for years. So it wasn't that hard for them to put it in. They just never actually put it in. So, yeah.
Well, it just made a lot of strong characters even stronger. It didn't really help the weak ones. So, thanks, Capcom.
All right.
Oh, God.
Next question here. This is from Iram Fatah. Most rage/salt-inducing moment you have felt as a fighting game player?
I'll take this one first. It was the last tournament, the last Evo that I competed in Street Fighter 4. So it was Ultra. I got double jeopardied by a Oni from Mexico. I beat him like, I don't know, second or third round, and he was the person projected to win my pool. And then I went on to lose to a Chun-Li player who was ecstatic to beat me in winners finals. And then I lost in losers finals against the Oni. And I had my stick in my lap. And I remember as I was losing, I was thinking, I'm going to lose this. This sucks. And then when the final blow was dealt, it was like 2-1, he wins. I didn't even unplug my stick. I just stood up and walked away. I straight up just let my stick hit the floor, walked away, because I had done winners finals, losers finals out at Evo and Street Fighter 4 5 years in a row at that point. So I just felt cursed. I was just like, this is stupid. And Humbag, my buddy James, actually like picked up all my stuff and came and found me. I was just like sitting on the floor, very, very disappointed in myself. So that was the saltiest I've ever been in tournament.
What year was that?
2014 or 15, one of the two.
Okay.
Well, mine is actually also the last year that I competed at Evo in Street Fighter 4, although it was in 2012. So this was when my hands issues were getting real gnarly, and I just couldn't really hack it anymore. But this is my last go at it, and I knew like a week in advance that I would be playing against Juicebox Abel in first round. And so I was playing Dan at the time, which I actually felt was fine versus Abel. I played against Ado and Strider a lot. He and I used to play a lot back in the day. And so we trained up a lot in that match. I was doing good. And I trained up against ETR, an Able player in Southern California as well. And I was feeling really good about it. And I was like all prepared. I had like all my tech down, And then we sat down to play at Evo. My hands just didn't do anything at all. Like I couldn't block. I couldn't jump. I couldn't do a dragon punch. Like nothing. It completely died. And I got stomped. I just couldn't do anything at all. Right. So I was really frustrated. I left the room. I did take my stick. I picked my stick up. But I left the room and I just went to sulk for a while until it was maybe 10 minutes, and then I came back and the next person that I played was a Yun player, Yang player. I don't know. Maybe it was Yun, and so my counter for that was T-Hawk at the time, and so I picked T-Hawk, right? And this guy, the whole time we're playing, is chatting with his buddy about how he hates this game and he never plays the game, and he's just here whatever. He's just here and he's just having a good time in Vegas. I don't remember what his main game was, but whatever it was, it wasn't this. And my hands still don't work at all. I can't do anti-air, stand strong, or roundhouse, or whatever, or dragon punch. I can't knock him out of the sky. I can't do a spinning pile driver, nothing. And so I get mega stomped again. I don't think I went around like the entire both matches. And I just left. I did pick my stick up yet again, but I was supposed to commentate, and I was like, can I switch commentator spots to do it later? Because right now I just can't. I was completely out of it. Right. So that to me was the most frustrating. Still thinking about it makes me mad, but man, I mean, it was real frustrating to go from like 2 years before that, like winning Street Fighter 4 tournaments against some of the best players in the world, and then I got Owen Ford at Evo.
on the same lines though, like how often do you think professional athletes go through the same thing? 2 years ago, I won a Super Bowl. Now I can't complete a pass to save my life because I'm 39 years old.
Well, Nick Anderson missed 4 free throws to tie up a game in the winning game, the final game in basketball. And since then, after that situation, his free throw percent has dropped to like 40-some%. Like he could not make a free throw to save his life ever again. Like it never came back. Like it was really bad. So
I would love to consider myself at the caliber of a professional athlete, but maybe that's.
I mean, look, the good part of that story.
It was very frustrating in conclusion.
Yeah, the good part of the story is you've gotten a lot of that back. So
I have.
Yeah, so that's the good part.
Look, even today, I was streaming earlier today. I streamed yesterday, and in both cases, I stopped because I was getting hand stuff. So it's not gone. It'll never be gone. But. Yeah, for the most part, I can control myself a lot better than I used to be able to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
I mean, for me, all of mine are on my stream, and they're all in YouTube clips. So you can find them. It's very easy.
I was going to say, man, are we going to get the Cammy rants? That was my favorite James Chen salt moment.
I mean, there's so many salty moments. I mean, the story that I always tell is that, when I was 3 or 4 years old or whatever, and my dad and my brother first decided to teach me how to play checkers. My very first game of checkers ever, I lost and I flipped the board. Like, I was so pissed that I had lost. This is the first game of checkers that I've ever played in my life. I don't know what I'm doing, and I threw the board. I flipped the board and all the pieces. I was so pissed off. And Cone is in the chat. Ask him about our Mario Kart situations, okay? Like, ask him about that. Ask him about like, poker games that I've played before. Like, trust me, my temper, what you see on stream is like 1/10 of what I was as a kid. I have broken so many toys, furniture, kicked holes in walls and stuff like that growing up. So, like, what I'm actually doing right now is actually pretty good.
Yeah, on the improvement.
Big improvement. Yeah, congrats,
it's a gigantic improvement. So that's the thing, right? And that's kind of one of the reasons why, like, the Tekken Rage clip, I've never apologized. I don't care because, like, that shit happens, dude. People get mad, and that's kind of a whole part and parcel of my thesis of fighting games are hard, dude. Shit happens, dude. People get mad, and we like to make fun of people for getting mad. I mean, poor Sanford, the Mentos moment and all that stuff like that. We make fun of those things all the time, but Sanford has my heart, man, because I know that guy. He is so passionate about stuff, and I love the guy to death. So I know where he's coming from and a lot of that stuff. And so, for me, I want people to understand that that's a real thing. You get mad when you play fighting games. We shouldn't make fun of people who get mad about it, unless they're being total dicks about it. Obviously, then roast them. But like, in situations where I just feel like, people get mad. And for me, I mean, I can't pick one because I have like 90,000 in the history of my life at this point in time. And there was one little kid who used to frequent my arcade in Street Fighter 2 who was just beating me up and laughing the whole entire time. He got me stunned and I was Dulcim, and this is Street Fighter 2, by the way. I was stunned and he just walked up and did a fierce uppercut and it re-dizzied me. Like, uppercut, the 2-hit uppercut as the combo re-dizzied my Dulcim, and he just started laughing, and I freaking shoved him, dude. Like, I pushed it. Like, I got physical with him and stuff like that. Like, dude, I've been getting salty at fighting games my whole entire life, dude. I have no way. And he's a little kid too. Like, I was like twice his age. I was inspired by future Ultra David, in hockey situations. So yeah, I've always been that way. And it's very, very important that I think people realize that you get mad when you play fighting games. So, and Iram, who's in the chat right now, has even just said that, reason I asked is that salt isn't necessarily a good thing, but it's comforting to see that it's not just you. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Very common.
Which is why I like to talk about it, which is why I don't. I mean, some people have asked me, can I use your Rage Tekken clip as a, and I'm like, yeah, do it. Absolutely. So.
Yeah, I think what 16-bit was talking about in the chat's very interesting. The idea of players who are strong or even like pro players, and then having to retire. Whether, I mean, my issue is an unusual one, right? Of just like, it was just a physical issue. I couldn't do it anymore. But for other people who move on because maybe they start working at the company whose games they play, right. Now they can't keep in it, or maybe they just don't have time anymore. Like whatever, like they have a family now. Like the feeling of like going from doing something and being awesome at it, and for some people being the best in the world, which I was not. Dude, and then
you thought you were
not being able to do it is such a gulf between those two things, and you spend so much time like defining yourself in part as a fighting game player or whatever the thing is, and all of a sudden like you're not that. How do you square these two? Like my self-conception no longer applies to what my current life is. That is really hard. Yeah. It really is.
I mean, it's one of the hardest things for me, which is why every time I play a fighting game, and clearly I'm not doing terrible, but I think I'm the worst player in the world, is kind of where that comes from, right? So I have so many stories.
I'm the best.
You are the best. Congratulations.
I could tell about these kind of things. I also like that HK Solanero says that stun in Street Fighter 2 was really cheap. Yeah, it was. And someone recently on Twitter was like, can you imagine getting mad at throws back in the days? I'm like, look, let me tell you something. Throws were one frame, option selects, and you could grab people out of pre-jump frames, and Dawson could put you in a range where he could throw you and you couldn't throw him. Throws were broken, okay? Like, low short throw was a problem. Like, it was a huge problem, and you have to understand how broken it was.
Let me get those low shorts, dog. Why you let me get close?
Dude, it's just...
Get good, scrub.
That's what we all used to say. Yep. At that point, your best bet is to find a time machine and go back in time and not be in that situation.
Yep. Dude, throws were... I mean, Guile would throw a Sonic Boom, chase it, and it's literally... The full Sonic Boom is in between Guile and Honda would throw Guile. Like, literally, Guile hasn't even overlapped the Sonic Boom at all. Like, there's just a whole Sonic Boom in between Honda and Guile, and Honda would be like, whoop, throw you. Like, that's the range that we're talking about in old school fighting games, so... Interesting question here from Master Moose. Everybody loves cats, and we know you guys do too, seeing them on stream every week. So my question is completely not FGC related. Do you guys have any other pets, and what are your guys' favorite animals?
Just got my one cat, and that's probably all I'll ever want, to be honest. I don't anticipate having more than that. I mean, I like dogs and all that stuff. Like, I like normal pets, but like owning a dog is like having a forever toddler. Like, you're gonna have this thing that relies on you completely and totally for 15 years if it goes well.
Yeah.
So that's too much responsibility for me.
Yeah.
For my cat, I can like lay out food and be gone for 2 days, and he's good to go when I come back. It's much easier.
Can I kind of sidetrack? Grinning Oni in the chat says, I don't know what it is about throws, but I swear throwing remains the fastest way to piss people off, followed by zoning, because both of them defeat block. And blocking is your most comforting and safe feeling position. And so you're violating people's safety, and that's why they get mad. That's 100% the reason right there. So anyways, I love all animals. I wanted dogs, but just like how Tubo was saying, I travel too much. I live by myself.
Yep.
I can't have a dog. I definitely want dogs at some point in time. That really just comes down to, do I ever have a partner who can, spend a lot of time at home and take care of the dog for me while I travel, kind of situation like that. But honestly, I'm not a cat person. I'm not a dog person. I'm an animal person. I loved Sanchez's bird. Like, I want birds. I want ferrets. I want tigers. I want a pet otter. It's so funny, on the Ouija board a long time ago, we asked what I was going to be when I grew up, and it pointed to zookeeper. And, you know, I've never thought about that for a long period of time. And I've always told myself if I came into an ungodly amount of money, I would just open a zoo so I could pet penguins and I could pet emus and I could, like, do whatever the hell I want. Like, I see those videos of the people who run out in the field and the lion runs up and hugs them. And I'm like, that is what I want. Like, this is the life that I want. You know,
this is the life I want.
There was a
James
video,
Exotic.
Yeah, there was a video of a girl.
10 seconds until the lion gets me. I'm going to really enjoy the
Yep, exactly. Dude, I've always said if I die that way, that's good, whatever, you know, like, but like there was a video of a girl that's rubbing the stomach of a shark. And like the shark is like, ugh, it's like so happy. You know, there's this girl who rescues hooks out of sharks' mouths, and the shark who got rescued swam away, came back with all of his friends that had hooks in their mouths. And she started pulling the hooks out of them.
That's pretty cool.
And she just has this box full of hooks from them, you know. There's a footage of some guy cleaning a tank, and one of the fish sees him and swims over to him and just swims into his lap and stops, and he just starts petting it. Like, I want to do all of that shit. Like, that is what I want to do. I figure I love animals. Like, I just have this passion for. And then when I was in college, I first majored in biology because I wanted to do animal stuff. Then I found out I hated biology, so I went on to computers instead. So, yeah, I just love animals, dude. I am an animal lover through and through. So,
we had a dog when I was younger.
Yeah.
Colonel Flopsy Amusington. Yeah.
All close.
Colonel Flopsy Amusington.
Dude.
Great name.
Big for Lil's not wrong. He says, now we know what James look up at 2 a.m. Pretty wholesome. Dude, I have catered my Facebook feed that most of my sponsored videos are from the Dodo, because the Dodo always has these crazy videos of like the stray crazy dog, but look how friendly he is now, you know? Like, dude, look, this cat and this dog are best friends. Like, dude, I click on every single one.
Yeah, I mean, I like dogs a lot. I think that, I mean, the animals that I love the most are the ones who have been in my family. Duh. And I didn't expect to get cats, but I'm, of course, extremely happy that we did. So I feel like I will probably be open to more kinds of animals as well. But what I expect is that I'll probably, you know, we'll have these kitty cats for hopefully the next very, very many years. And yeah, I think we'll want cats or maybe a dog or whatever, you know, in the future too.
Sure.
That's the idea.
Mm-hmm. Dude, right, Stephanie? I didn't get people that over the top love their pets until I got my cat. Now it's all I do in tweet. Dude, correct. There was another player, Stephen Killick, who's part of the FGC, and I remember watching him on Facebook. Like, he first got a dog and was like, whatever, and now it's like he just loves the dog. Like, it's just the
you know who it's really been good for is Jabali. Jabali has a dog that he actually loves.
True, yeah.
I've been really happy to see that he's like.
It's the first thing that Jabali's ever loved that's on himself.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. I think it's
100%.
I was so stoked that he got the dog and that they're getting along so well. I think that's really great.
Oh my God, that's amazing. All right, Planet Chaser with their second question here. Favorite non-fighting arcade game?
Turtles in Time or the X-Men arcade beat 'em up.
That's a good answer. X-Men, welcome to die.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's so good.
The fact that they got him to say that they got Deadpool to say that is amazing in Marvel 3. X-Men, welcome to die. When he fights Magneto, it's like so good, dude.
Wait, he says welcome to die. It's only when Magneto's a point character.
Oh yeah. He just says welcome to die. Yeah. It's so great.
Go with Killer Queen.
Killer Queen is great. I played in a league locally for a few years.
I would definitely do so if we had one local.
It's hard for me to say because it's different eras at different times. I still have dreams where I'm wandering arcades looking for my favorite games all the time. Like, this is a reoccurring dream. Being in an arcade is a reoccurring dream, and it's always a new arcade, which I haven't been to. So I'm always walking around perusing for one of my favorite games, whether it's Dragon Slayer.
There's cat action going on there.
All right.
Now for you, huh? But Dragon's Lair, obviously I've talked about that a lot. Mario Brothers, me and my brother used to play the hell out of that. Elevator Action, Pengo, I dig I can name hundreds of arcade games that I've played up in my life.
But if you had to pick one, if you can only play one forever, what is it?
Boy, that's a tough one. I mean, honestly, one of my favorite ones, Elevator Action just has such a place in my heart, I swear. The hardest part is...
I honestly never even heard of that game.
Yeah, the older games are really, really simple. But man, I love that game. I could sing the music to the game right now, and I could just do all the sound effects to you here. Oh, wow, and Terra's actually has the same dream. That's crazy. And so does Act Remix. See, look at this. I'm telling you, man, arcades, when you grew
all my
up...
reoccurring dreams are awful.
I have those
they're
too.
Nightmares, all of them.
I have those too. But honestly, arcades are a whole... They affect you, man. They are magical places. I talk about them, and I get tears in my eyes when I talk about arcades, So having to pick one particular arcade game would be really, really hard. So...
well, shoot.
You know what? If I had to pick one arcade machine for really, really longevity and kind of because you can't really get the same experience at home, I would have a DDR machine. I would get a Fourth Mix Plus with the Korean songs on there. I would probably do that. I would probably do So David Tubo challenged me if I had to pick just one, and I said for selfish, because you can't get this experience at home, I would pick DDR Fourth Mix Plus probably. So,
man, that's actually not true. Keats and Anna, they have a full-on DDR pad in their house, in their living room. I've seen it. I've been on top of it. It's constructed of metal, just like the arcade and everything.
I have two of them too. Yeah, I have the Cobalt
Fluxes. Well,
yeah. But it's just the arcade machine just feels so different. So
sure.
Okay.
David?
All right. By the way, cats are good.
Okay, good.
Going places that they're not supposed to be.
Oh, was Kentley yelling at them or something?
So she's constructing a gingerbread house.
Oh no!
Constructing, full on. I showed her how to use the 3D modeling software that we have, so that she could plan it out in terms of how she would construct it. So it is super detailed.
Yeah, I've seen the plans. She texted them to me, so so
there you go. She's working on it. So she really doesn't want the cats getting involved in that stuff right now.
Yeah. If you would create a fighting game time capsule, which games would you put in it?
Ultimate Marvel 3.
Yeah.
Super
Correct.
Turbo.
Yeah. Third Strike.
Probably Tekken 5 DR. Third Strike. Soul Calibur 2. That would probably be what I would toss in there.
Maybe MK3. UMK3 maybe?
Okay.
I would put MK2 over at UMK3 because MK2 was revolutionary, I think. So.
Okay, yeah, maybe just in terms of that side of things. Smash, probably Melee.
Yeah.
KOF 98 maybe Ultimate Match.
Time killers. Oh no, actually we would have to put in Criticom, just so people can remember how bad fighting games could be.
I don't know. Eternal Champion is up there too. That game was...
That was the one with the senator and then the chicken that you could cut its head off and
Yeah.
it would become invincible and spray blood all over people. So that's a tough question. That's one that I'd have to sit down and write it down and remove people. Plus they didn't give us a limitation on how many, so that makes
seriously.
True, yeah.
Here's the list game.
Yeah.
Just all of them.
Yep. Yep.
How many games does Fight K2 have? Put them all in.
Yep. Exactly.
What's the game that just got onto the Switch's Super Nintendo emulator thing? Is it Combat Tribes? It was one of the weird old ones that they put on.
Right. Oops, I accidentally jumped to the next question already.
I've wanted a Switch since
Tough
release.
Enough. Yep.
Oh, I remember Tough Enough.
Tough Enough?
Are you tough enough? Yep.
I remember Tough Enough. Yeah. The cover had that like nondescript, like 3-dimensional guy just doing this or something. I remember that game.
That game was not great, but
Balls 3D.
Balls 3D, a classic, an absolute.
There's no corners. Everybody has the same walk speed. You get one hit and then you walk backwards.
Yeah.
That's it. You win.
Yeah.
So the Harris asks, or T Harris asks, which fighting game character that we haven't seen in a while would you like to come back? Sodom. It's the only alpha character that hasn't come back yet, so that's my answer. So
I don't know. I'd like to see like maybe like a Nacris or something in a new Marvel game.
that'd be so sick.
Tal Bane would be so sick. Give me some Wolf guy. I like that.
I guess I don't really care that much.
What, you don't want to see Q? That's your boy.
I absolutely want Q to remain dead in Third Strike. Yeah.
Street Fighter 6 is going to launch with Q.
Well, Third Strike, Street Fighter 5 has good Q. G is obviously Q, but
there's no proof behind that, all right?
Obviously Q, but good.
Like there's no proof behind that.
It's so clear. And I did play G for a little while, but then I was like, I like this. This character's fun, but let's let Q rest. That was actually my thought process.
I understand that. I understand that completely.
And when I go back and play Third Strike, I'm too old and frankly not interested enough to learn a new character. So I'll just keep playing Q forever. That's fine. And I can do that. But I don't need him to come back.
Nope.
All right.
I would rather see 12. That's true.
Oh my god, this question is crazy. What the heck is this question?
This question that's coming up is actually one of my favorites.
All right, so the question is from Echo D, but I'm actually abbreviating it. So the full question is, David and James, Tuberware has to spend 2021 in a fighting game universe. In which universe do you think Tuberware would most enjoy living? Tubo and David, choose a universe for James. James and Tubo, choose a universe for David.
Well, guys, where am I living?
I really did try to think about this beforehand, and it just requires a lot of knowledge that I don't really possess.
What do you mean? Oh, you're talking about just like in terms of game lore, you mean?
I don't know what the stories are, James. What the universe? Man.
I would put Tubo into... God, what universe would I put Tubo into? I mean, I feel like I kind of have to put him into the Marvel vs. Capcom universe, you know, the MVC3, because then he could hang out with Deadpool and stuff like that, and I think he would be really happy with that, to be honest.
I could see you hanging out with Deadpool and Spider-Man and having a good time. Yeah, sure.
Going with the boys.
Sure. That makes sense to me. That universe has a lot of pretty gnarly stuff going on that I'm not sure you would be stoked about.
You know, so does our current universe.
I guess that's a good point.
So, you know, it can't be much worse, right?
I would put David in that one fighting game that I don't remember the name of, that he says has the best music, so he could rock out to that music all day.
Yo, I'm chilling out on Jake's planet in FX Fighter.
There you go, in FX Fighter, dude.
Yeah.
FX, I've never even heard of this game.
Jake's planet is just basically Earth anyway.
Exactly, but it's got kick-ass music the entire time. So
right.
David would spend his whole life walking around with this theme music in the background, dude. Like, I think that would be perfect for him.
Genius.
Well, I think that James has to live in them's fighting herds. He's an animal. He's an animal lover. He's an animal lover. He has to be there. That's like what he says.
Wouldn't it be?
I was gonna say rival schools, but I actually really like this answer better.
But what about Fight of Animals, right? I mean, that one works too, right?
Yeah, but
because
I don't know if there's much of a universe there. I feel like it was kind of just just a game. There's like actual lore to them fighting nerds. You know, like there's story behind it. Characters have personality.
I need to go live in the world of Bloody Roar.
Bloody roar, yeah.
Which I'm so glad that Olaf can confirm with me, because he's seen it as well when the game first came out in the US, was called Beasterizer. So I'm just
Right.
It was, yeah.
yeah, I'm really glad that someone else can confirm too.
Yeah, no, that's real life. Like I've
Yeah.
seen the stuff on that too.
Well, if you had to pick a universe for yourself, what would you say?
Marvel, for sure. I want to be in the MVP universe. That's like the obvious answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would probably just pick Street Fighter because it's basically the world.
That's just
There's like 20 people on Earth who have like special talent powers or whatever, but in general, it's just Earth.
Yeah.
I would
That's
probably
my
just say
adventurous answer. I just would love to live in the world that doesn't have. And in Street Fighter, there's no COVID. It's actually
That's true,
a step
yeah.
up.
I would say if I had to pick one for myself is probably rival schools, so I can, hang out with Kyoko but never admit to her my feelings. That's basically.
I nailed it.
Yeah,
I should have
there you
stuck
go.
with rival schools instead of going with those ridiculous.
James, I hate to tell you, man, but you're way too old to be hanging out with those kids.
No, but see, that's the thing. Kyoko was the school nurse. She's the adult in the game.
Okay.
That's
That's
the
fair.
key right there. So, but I mean, you were joking about that. That's like one of my friends has always said that the largest cinematic universe is the documentaries, right? So,
Genius.
it's kind of true. Hi. Okay. Interesting question there. Sorry, I didn't get the next question all ready to go here. But Alex Morales asks, if you could go back in time to day one tournaments of any fighting game with your current knowledge of meta, busted characters, mechanics, etc., which game would it be, and what character strategies would you enjoy to win? Would you employ to win?
I've thought about this. My answer is launch Street Fighter 4, and I would use unblockable tech. I would come in there with something nobody has any expectation even exists and wouldn't know for like another year and a half. But I would come in there and I would just cheese my way to winning Evo against Daigo, and it would be to get Daigo with like Cammy cross up jump short or whatever it was that was her unblockable setup. That would just be so funny. I would be able to win Evo as a cheesing.
You're assuming that you're ever jumping in on Daigo. You're ever getting a back throw.
I'm getting a knockdown, absolutely. At some point,
You think so?
At some point, I'm getting a knockdown. At some point. Here's, you know why I know that? Because I got experience in this, all right? I did play Daigo in tournament one time. We played in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I played Old Honda, and he picked Boxer. And I immediately did get a fierce grab, and I did the jump throw loop until he died. And even though there wasn't streaming at this, or there was streaming, but this wasn't being streamed, everybody behind me booed. Everybody who was watching us play on the arcade was booing me. And it was so good. And obviously then he picked Ryu, and I immediately died. But I did, in the cheese situation, get one fierce grab per round, and that's all I needed. That was it. I would get a knockdown and then win, for sure.
James?
Even if I took all my Marvel 3 tech, I would probably still lose. That's the problem. I mean, let's put it this way. I've come so close so many times. The very first Southern Hills Golfland tournament, I cracked out on the home version of CVS 1. So I got second place at that tournament because nobody really knew all the tech, and I knew a lot more than other people did. I just lost to Vi because Vi is Vi, right? So, gosh, what? I don't know. That's a great question. I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
I would definitely roll cancel my way all the way to finals. And I'm picking top tier, and I'm roll canceling all the way to finals, baby. What are you gonna do to me? You can't touch me. They'll have no idea what's happening.
It even
That's
happened.
a good pick, actually.
It even happened in Marvel Superheroes when I went to that E3 tournament. Kind of like nobody, or the CES tournament. It was only Lord BBH who actually knew how to play that I played against in grand finals. Everybody else was a bunch of businessmen, so it was basically the same thing. But Probably maybe a Marvel Superheroes tournament. I might have to pick just so I could kill everybody with Shumagorath again. And like I said, I did win that tournament and it felt awesome. So maybe that game. So
You could go back to the start of Third Strike and already know Ganejin combos and Urian unblockable.
Ooh, that'd be cheap.
That would be definitely cheap. Yeah.
that'd be hilarious. Oh man. All right. Well, back to Echo D, who asked us that super interesting question earlier. He says, "What's your best personal commentary moment?"
Oh, interesting. I think I've answered this before, and I think I would still stick with it. I would say there's a cat. I don't know if you guys can hear, but Ajax opened the door behind me and went.
Nice.
Okay. It was the first year that Evo was in the stadium, and I did Mortal Kombat X Top 8 commentary with Eris, and we were the 8 a.m. slot, so we were the very first people to do commentary in the stadium, which was cool. I mean, there were fewer people there than ended up being there later in the day because it was 8 a.m. in Las Vegas. But it was still really sick, and I thought that the commentary went really well. It was really fun. But yeah, just being in that situation, being the first ones to do it, I thought was super cool. That has stuck with me. It's like a good 4 years ago or so now. It's quite a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it'd be longer than 4, right?
I think that was 2016.
That was the first time you did top 8 at Evo? No way.
No. That was the first time that we were in the stadium.
The Mandalay Bay.
Oh, okay.
The arena. Yeah,
that makes more sense in my brain.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about it before in the past. One of my favorites was when me and David did the Street Fighter 4 finals for the 25th anniversary in Los Angeles with Justin versus Snake Eyes. Because like I said, it was super boring, but David and I loved the footsie so much, and when we were commentating it, it wasn't like we were trying to hype it up, we were just both hype about it, like, because we love the footsies, and we were super interested in the Rufus Zangief match, which is, for all intents and purposes, boring as hell. But we were describing it and getting into real details about it, and everybody at home was like, that was so hype, that was so good, and everybody who was there live was like, fuck me, like, kill me now, this is so goddamn boring. And so that's honestly one of my most proud moments, because it kind of gave me an indication of what commentary can do in terms of taking matches and making it amazing. So that's the early one that pops out of my head. Obviously, me crying with Tokido and stuff like that is a big one, even though I hated it. But still, I mean, it all capped out nicely because we closed the stadium. I got to have the parting words. I got to say Z's amazing line about, the holding your L and running it back, with the Evo is love kind of thing like that. So
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Snake Eyes and Justin said is a really good choice, actually.
Yeah.
And that was pretty early.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I remember because I was so excited that Snake Eyes won a tournament with Zangief, and I was like, it took 4 years, but we finally did it. And so that was in 2012, I guess.
Yeah,
so
I think it was.
We were early in commentary days, that we had only been doing it for a couple of years.
Right.
And yeah, you're right that was... I definitely learned some stuff from having commentated that was important.
My favorite moment is different from my personal best moment, I think. My best moment was the first time I got to do top 8 commentary at a major, which was the first combo breaker. It was me and Biscant. We did, Marble 3 commentary. So I felt like I had made it at that moment. I had always been like the pools guy or maybe top 32, but when I was hired to do top 8 for my favorite game, I was ecstatic. But my favorite moment was definitely Wheels versus Valorax with me and Sajam on commentary. I lost my mind. I was full blown Tasty Steve standing up and that was. I felt like everything that I said during that match straight up came from my heart. Like I wasn't even commentating at that point. I was just enthralled by the match.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my favorite moment on commentary.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. That's a good pick.
That's the best way to do it. It's how I tell everybody about commentary, right? Just enjoy the game, speak how you really feel about it, and that's the most important thing. like I said, I mean, I've commentated with people who didn't want to be there and didn't want to commentate the game, and it is absolutely like you can hear it, and it's miserable. It's absolutely miserable. In fact, that person then disappeared and didn't do any commentary, even though that's what they were flown out there for, and I did almost all of the commentary. So yeah.
Bummer.
I will not name names here, so.
I think I know them.
Yeah, I know. Yep. All right. Next question from Mr. Jason Game Dev. Anything the FGCB should be prepared for or on the lookout in 2021?
Yeah, I think clarify on this that he's like, yeah, obviously the world's going to be in a weird place. You know, there's something like that he phrased this with, I think, or if I being stuff within the FGC and just in the world, maybe there was more than that. But anyway, look, it's not going to be a great time. Okay, this is not going to be, at least not in our country. I just read the other day, maybe it was a couple days ago, that they had hoped to get 20 million people vaccinated by the end of this year, which is basically a month. But in fact, it's going to be 2 million, not 20. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So with the rollout even of this thing is going awfully. It'll be a long time. Like this, maybe at the very end of this year, we're going to get majors back. But I think as far as what should we be prepared for, be prepared for it to be the same as this year was. 3/4 of this year was of just not traveling, not hanging out at locals, not going to majors. For some countries that will be different, but in our experience here, it's probably not going to be. So be prepared for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw a short video that pointed out we have 300 million people in America. The current pace, it would take 10 years to vaccinate everyone or get to 80%, which would, cause immunity through our country. So, be prepared to sit on your ass and not do much because we're not going anywhere, man. Like at the earliest that something could happen would be like this summer, maybe, if distribution of the vaccines pick up a lot and they, develop a program to get it to everyone for free and quickly. Sure, but our government is a pile of shit right now, so don't expect that to happen, and be prepared to chill out.
Yep, exactly. But if you're in some other countries, New Zealand's already having locals again, so
yeah, have fun playing fighting games.
I honestly, part of me is a little bit jealous, of course, but my primary reaction to that is like excitement for the people who do get to enjoy that stuff. So I hope that it goes.
Did you hear that Taiwan reported its first COVID case since April? This month, and guess where it came from?
Yeah,
the good old United States, baby. Yeah.
What I read was that there was an airline pilot, who had a stopover in somewhere in the U.S. and left the plane briefly, and during that brief period of time, got infected, came back, on the return flight.
I called it our greatest export of 2020 right now. So
jeez.
Yeah.
For me, what should be prepared on the lookout? More online, and let's say even we did get immunized and pandemic is done, lockdown is over in February. I don't care. More online, because we have figured out how to make it work. It's opened up a lot of opportunities for people. It's fun. People, I think, enjoy being able to play from home and things like that. So I think, like I said, the transition from arcade to console is almost 1-to-1 with the transition from offline to online. And so I really think online is going to become one of the biggest things, especially with games like AC plus R getting better rollback, Strive potentially with a rollback or coming out with rollback, and stuff like that. I think it's going to get, even Tekken doesn't have rollback, but the new netcode is great, right? So, these kind of things I think are going to make it a big deal. So,
yep. Cool. Okay. Next one.
Let's move on.
Phil Rufio. I'm just taking time so I can type this. So I can actually type this in here. Oh God, come on.
Remember when Rufio died? That was sad.
Hey, spoilers!
You do,
Look,
yeah.
man, if you haven't watched a movie from 1992, that's on you.
Wow.
Do you happen to actually know what year it's from? Just off the top of your head.
Something like that. Early 90s.
Okay. Phil Rufio asks, most liked to most disliked fighting game character archetype. Most liked for me is probably the grappler. Because like I said, I really enjoyed Cammy and Super Turbo because she's a grappler in that game, you know.
Fuck crap.
Most disliked character archetype, 100% the character that has everything and you've got to make them a glass cannon. So, in
Yes.
other words, fuck Seth in Street Fighter 4. That's all I'm going to say. So, that's my most hated archetype.
Well, obviously, I'm in Grappler Town. I do love zoning, but I would say I primarily, if I had to choose, I'm going to go with Grappler. So, Grappler is number one. As far as the archetype that I dislike the most, yeah, that kind of all-around character I really do dislike. That's rare, thankfully. So I guess my secondary thing would be just the kind of boring, conventional character that every game has that character. That's just like the boring strike throw, has pretty good footsies. Is just that kind of character is just so boring to me. You have boiled down fighting games which can be so weird and interesting, and you're just playing this like real stoic frontal approach of being cautious and patient.
Poster boy character.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
Someone in the chat says online Tony just sneezed about my Seth comment. When people are asking about our favorite commentary moments, there was a moment the first year I was doing commentary. I was doing commentary for a Street Fighter 4 tournament, and online Tony was on, and I was just like, I hate this motherfucking character. Fuck Seth, like on commentary. Like I was so mad. So I've already done that to online Tony. It's all good.
I don't even mean Shotos, to be honest. Sometimes that's true. I think Shotos are boring sometimes, but I kind of think it's interesting to watch a top level player use a Shoto in games where fireballs are strong. That's always been really cool to me. And I did play one of my alts in Third Strike is Ryu. I played Denjin Ryu in that game, among others.
Of course.
Because he's kind of like brawler Shoto. He's got funky, unblockable setups. So it's not true that it's always Shotos. In fact, I'd say it's more commonly characters like in Street Fighter 5, I guess if that's what we're thinking about. Karen, I think, is probably the most boring character in that, to me. Right? That's just the stuff that she does is just real basic and good, but just real basic.
God,
and
more
there's
boring.
No flavor there to me, anyway.
More boring than Cammy?
Cammy, at least there's the idea of maybe dive kicks, which is not something I love, but like you're not just like on the ground.
Okay,
at all
that's fair.
times.
That's fair. Okay. What about you, Brandon?
Fuck grapplers.
Buff grapplers? I agree.
Fuck. F you. And my favorite archetype, I always want to play the zoning character. Always. Like, I don't always do it. But in my head, like, if I could play a fighting game however I wanted to all the time, I would play, like, Guile, Dhalsim. I like those characters. I don't like fighting against them, but I really, really respect people who make those characters work when they're not, very clearly the top tier of the game. And I mean, that shows in, like, my Marvel play. Like, I obviously play Deadpool and Strider and try to keep people out and annoy them and things like that. But unfortunately for Street Fighter type games, I'm not very strong at zoning people with fireballs. I make a lot of bad fireball tosses.
Yeah, same.
So I avoid those characters. Like, as much as I'd like to play them, they just don't gel well with me. But yeah, I love people who just don't, characters that just don't, they're a wall. It's funny to me, and I like watching people struggle to get in. It's funny.
It's why I played an Acarus in Vampire Savior. I just wanted to drop coffins on people and predict where they were, because you could pick a coffin to drop in any part of the screen.
Right.
And so my favorite was always dropping them near you, and the guy would rush in and get hit by it. Like, that was just that's the best.
Like
that kind of thing
Blackheart or
a lot of characters in Mortal Kombat games of like calling out the exact spot somebody's gonna walk to. So I get that all the time.
Yeah.
And it is really, really fun. I highly agree.
That's a fun way to play games. All right, next question.
But yeah, honestly, like I'm terrible with fireballs. People say unless I'm fighting Honda in Super Turbo, my Ken has no fireballs, so it's really funny. Here's a nice question here. Actually, I totally did not save the last question onto the screen. Sorry about that. But Never Knows Best asks, what are your favorite mechanics that you've seen in a fighting game? And to expand on that, he says, could be anything, universal system, character-specific thing, or even non-versus thing like creative single-player or menus. What is something you saw in older fighting games that you wish would come back?
I will probably actually get eaten alive for this, but I love X Factor.
Oh, interesting.
I think X Factor is so cool because you can use it in 12 different ways.
Huh.
It wasn't. I didn't like X Factor in vanilla UMBC or in vanilla Marvel 3 because you couldn't do it in the air. When they added where you could actually activate it in the air, then X Factor became an incredible mechanic to me. You can use it to guard cancel. You can use it defensively. You can use it to finish a character off. I really, really love X Factor. I hate TACs. TACs are the devil. They're stupid. It's a 3-way guess, 4-way guess depending on the character sometimes.
Yeah.
TACs are the antithesis of X Factor. X Factor is dope. TACs are the worst.
Interesting. Well, my favorite, because, I mean, explicitly, this is okay. Character specific, it's magnetizing with Tager.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
That is so cool. That one thing made me play Blaze Blue for like 2 years. Even though I played it for about a year on launch Blaze Blue, and then later on played CF or whatever the last one was. I don't remember it. Is it CP or CF? I think it's CF. But that one mechanic literally had me put a couple of years into that series, and it's just a complete like reversal of what the grappler typically does. The grappler gets in, he is moving to you, but Tager's the opposite. He doesn't have to move. He sucks at moving. He brings you in, like he sucks. He vacuums in with the magnetizing. So I just think that's or with a spark bolt, I guess he can use a projectile to get you close to him as well. That is just a really unique take on the grappler archetype that was honestly like the biggest reason that I played that game. Like I said, I just thought that was so cool. So for me, Tager is still one of my favorite characters, even though I put only a couple years into Blaze Blue and then maybe a year into BB Tag. But that's so unique and interesting and such a turning on the head of the typical grappler archetype that to me it's the best.
Okay. Sure. My favorite mechanic is the Roman cancel from the Guilty Gear games, because to me the Roman cancel is kind of the same way that Tubo was talking about. There's so many uses of it, right? You can save yourself if you whiff buttons, you can use it to extend combos, but the way Roman cancels work in Guilty Gear created the absolute, like, it's what makes you one with a character, because when you see someone just pull this combo out of their ass because they just hit some random thing and like Roman, and then they convert it into a full-on combo and setup, it's just like, it's absolutely beautiful. I probably prefer Roman cancels in XX more than Exerd, because the Exerd slowdown made things a little too easy. However, fuck FRCs. Like I hate forced Roman cancels. But regular Roman cancel, there's so many different ways to use it. Make unsafe moves on block safe. Save yourself from whiffing attacks in Exerd in any case, because you can't do that in XX. But the ability to really... And that was the problem with FRCs too, is they built FRCs into every character to make that is what you're supposed to do in your combo, which kind of ruined Roman cancels. So in a way, I kind of like them better I might like them better in Exerd at this point. Because, like, for example, Baiken has the Jump Dust, the Dragon Cannon, into FRC loops and stuff like that. but because she has the FRC on a specific point of that move, obviously that's what you're supposed to use as the combo. And it was dictated too much what you're supposed to use your Roman cancels, where in the combos and stuff like that. And by the end, every character had like 5 false Roman cancels, and it was just kind of annoying. So maybe I do like him better in Xrd because it really just does give a lot. And then, being able to air dash YRC just to get in and stuff. There was a lot of creativity that you could use out of that. So
sounds right.
Okay.
All right. Let's speed it up if
What do we have? Yeah, say how many more do we have?
We have quite a few here.
At least get the Casmers.
Okay. So real quick, Fat Cat asks, will the VODs of Tubo versus Flo in MVC3 ever be released on YouTube? I still have them. I can still put them up if you want me to. So
put them up.
Make it happen.
No.
All right. I'll throw them up soon then. There you go. Okay. I definitely still have the VOD, so it's still there. Then Kino GG asks, what are your go-to rituals / meditations you do to get yourself in the right headspace for commentary?
A whole lot of drugs. Just whatever is around me, heroin, cocaine, marijuana, whatever's there.
We're just riding kites the entire time.
I don't have anything special that I do. I was trying to put my head and my mind in the right headspace. I think I'm saying that correctly before I go on. But other than that, nothing special.
Yeah, I try to get a good night's sleep. Back in the day, I used to just get blitzed whenever I'd go to an event, right? But now I can't do that anymore. I'm too old for that. So I go to sleep at a reasonable hour. I get up. I just try to maintain like a normal routine. So at home, I have a little exercise routine. And by the end of last year, before we stopped traveling, I would get up and do that little exercise routine as well, just to keep things normal, keep my mind in a good spot, and make sure that if it's top 8, I have a whole like doc that I fill out that has where the players are from, how they did in the tournament so far, how have they done in the past, what's their history, have they played against anybody else in this tournament so far. Like I got a whole doc that I fill out just to make sure that I know, even though on commentary I don't look at it often, but doing that research and making sure that I know, writing it all down is part of it. So.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I don't really have that many rituals. I kind of like going in a little raw into commentary games sometimes. Yeah, I know.
James Jen likes going in raw. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Going in raw.
I'm right into Bukkake's face, James.
Yeah. Honestly, because the adrenaline is kind of important to me. To get that kind of adrenaline. Like before we did the Teppen tournament, I mean, obviously I did my research on the players and everything like that, but sometimes just going in there and being like, okay, how the hell is this gonna go? What the hell am I gonna say? And then like that adrenaline kind of helps pump me up sometimes. So that I actually enjoy that. And honestly, like it's probably shocking how much like 99% of the commentary. I mean, it's probably true for most people, but off the cuff it is. A lot of people think I plan my puns ahead of time and stuff like that and things like that. But it's just, because I'm such an emotional person, I let that kind of drive the way I do commentary. It's a very unique way to do commentary. I don't suggest everybody do this. So it's definitely unique to me because I'm driven through emotions, but that's basically work. And I think that's why me and David work together so well. Echo asks, so does James work best with a pre-planner like David? I think it's one of the things that makes us so good is because I've always said we have the same destination and we take 2 very different roads to get there. And because we have the same goal but the different styles, we complement each other well. But if you hate my style, you'll probably like Ultra David's style. If you don't like Ultra David's style, you'll probably like my style. But because we both have the same goal, we agree, and so it's not like we're fighting with each other the whole entire time. I think it works out really well, to be honest with you. So.
And although I would totally tune into a tournament where you two just got up and started fighting, just all out. I would watch that tournament.
Well,
I mean, that's why you love that Cammy rant so much, right? So it's like,
man, I actually like fell into an old FGC video like hole on YouTube a few weeks ago, and there was a video where Dave is on commentary with Sanchez, and you had just lost your match.
Oh yeah,
and you walked up to Sanchez, and you're like, "Get the fuck off!"
I was like, "Get off the microphone, you fucking motherfucker!" Is what I basically said. Yeah. No. Yeah, that was definitely one of the ones that he pissed me off the most. So
that was in the Proud Bird, right? That was old
Sanchez pissed me off so badly, dude. Because
he said a bunch of jokes that wouldn't fly in 2020 after.
For sure.
Well, that and also he was making fun of my Marvel play, and I was really sensitive about my Marvel play, and after he did that, I was so tilted. I got destroyed in my MK9 match, and then I lost to someone in Street Fighter 4 that I had never lost to before, and they were like, "What happened?" And so when I walked back to the commentator table, I was like, "Get the fuck off, you stupid motherfucker!" And that was pretty much it. So,
man, Sanchez.
Alex.
Yeah.
Where's he at right now? I want to hug him.
Oh, he's great. Sanchez is awesome, dude. I love the guy.
I love Sanchez.
So, okay, next question from Pixel Freckles. Do you think puzzle games like Tetris will receive more ground at fighting game tournaments? People play Puyo Puyo Tetris at fighting game events and stuff like that. My answer to this is I kind of hope they don't, because I would love to see puzzle game tournaments. I just want to have a PGC. I want a PGC. I want a puzzle game community. I want them to have their own events. There's too many games that would apply to that, so I just don't think that there's really a need for it, to be honest with you, to play second banana in the BYOB, kind of section, BYOCs and stuff like that. Nah, let's just do. I've told the classic Tetris guys that I was like, just start trying to expand it. They do run some Dr. Mario tournaments and stuff like that, but go even beyond that. Put in Magical Drop and get a sponsor to fly Justin out to it. Because everybody will want to tune in because Justin talks mad shit about that game, dude. Yeah. He says he's the best at Magical Drop, so I think everybody would want to tune into that. But, get that, Puzzle Fighter, get, all these games up there. I think it would be amazing, dude. I think that would be amazing.
That could be cool. Yeah, that's maybe something you should look to do in 2022.
Yeah, that's cool. Like I said, I talked to the CTWC guys about that a lot. So, I don't know if you guys want to say anything about that question.
I have no. Yeah, I think you nailed it, dude. I have nothing else.
Okay. All right. So again, this is probably not going to fit here. Phoenix Fury X asks, with almost no offline play this past year, how do you want to see devs handle balance updates? Should characters who rely on single hit confirms be changed? Should hard to react to moves be changed?
I think this is should. Oh, go ahead, David.
Well, this is kind of what James was talking about earlier when he was mentioning how we went from the transition of arcade to console, and now maybe offline to offline is a similar transition. Yeah, maybe designing characters with the conception that somebody's reactions offline are going to be different than online. Maybe you make a game that is more focused on that. I wouldn't want that to be something that devs of existing games change for this period of time. I do think it's true that in the games that we're playing online right now, single hit confirms are harder. Like in Mortal Kombat, Shao Kahn's forward 3, I can usually hit confirm offline. Online, it's only 3-frame difference, but I can usually not get that anymore. Like, it's on the margins, right? And same thing with like a Karen in Street Fighter 5. Like that, but that's okay to me. I don't want them to change it just because we're only playing online right now. At some point, we won't only be playing online. And there are people, although rare, who get to play offline if they have like the friend who they live with or whatever. So I don't want them to do that, but I do think it might be interesting, in the future to make a game that's maybe more online focused, where that's not, whatever the threshold of what you think is reaction or reactable, maybe a little bit slower because it is going to be online. Yeah, could be.
Yeah, I think the blunt answer is no. They shouldn't adjust for online any more than they currently do, because devs do adjust for online play. I mean, they don't really talk about it much, but like, for example, I want to say Killer Instinct has like a natural 4-frame input delay when you play online, even though it is one of the best online played games, period. Like, the netcode is incredible. There's still inherent delay because that's how you have to develop the game. So I don't think they need to make any changes. And you should always assume at a high level, which is the people who care about this stuff, right? Tournament level players are going to be playing offline eventually. So to develop a game just for online play, unless you don't plan on it ever being played offline, then you shouldn't make changes there. You should just keep doing what you've been doing.
Yeah,
Makes sense to me.
I mean, and then look at games like Fightcade, right? People are playing all the old games on there online, and they're loving it. So there's no reason to consider one or the other. Basically, you're just gonna make a fighting game to be fun. That like honestly, like just
make sure it has good netcode. That's what you should be focused on.
Yeah, exactly. If you have good netcode, that's important because again, the biggest advantage of online parsec is not that it fixes netcode. It's still delay-based netcode. But the reason why online parsec makes netcode great is because the people that you play against will not change your ping. And so whatever you get used to delay-wise, you are going to be continually using that delay all the time. And so people can get used to online play. You know what I mean? You can get used to it and play it that way. And so you don't necessarily need to change things drastically. You know what I mean? It's just going to be, and people know that one is different than the other. Like, oh, it's a little bit different offline than online. That's fine. I think that's fine. So.
Yep.
Let's see. Dr. Omnipotent asks, regardless how likely it would occur, what two FG series would you love to see release a combined title like Tekken versus Soul Calibur? I'll just answer this right away because I got baited a long time ago by Darkstalkers versus Guilty Gear, and I basically I basically almost creamed myself, when I heard that. And so seriously, I really wanted that game so bad, and it never happened. So there you go. Sorry for TMI, but there you go.
I would like to see Mortal Kombat versus Killer Instinct, but
Ooh.
not developed by NRS because they're not I don't play NRS games. Sorry, 16-bit. So maybe a new KI versus MK developed by Iron Galaxy would be dope. I know that it'll never happen, but I would love to see it.
Yeah, I guess I would just go with the games that I like the most historically, which is probably Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat. Those are the two series that I found myself playing the most over the years, and I think that would be cool.
I kind of never want to see Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat just because back in the days people used to always talk about that and be like, oh, well, all the Street Fighter characters would die, and then be like, no, it's like, you see, they punch so hard that their head flies off, and it's like, no, that's because they're so weak that they're fragile,
Right.
It's just that question I never want answered. I don't want all the Capcom characters to be better or something like that. So
sure.
Well, in my mind, this is a game that has no gore.
Oh, okay.
I'm not looking for
so you're looking at the DC versus MK type of dealio here, where they take out all the MK aspects.
The part about Mortal Kombat that I like the least is gore. That may sound absurd, but I would love to have Mortal Kombat that doesn't have any blood at all. That's almost my ideal fighting game to be. Anyway, we move on.
All right, what's next?
Oh, God, okay.
Who would win in a fight? This is from Genius, Ryan Casper.
Genius.
Genius. Casper. Who would win in a fight? 5 foot tall, Incredible Hulk, or what's the actual phrasing of this? Anakin Skywalker after drinking half a bottle of cough syrup. Who would win in a fight?
This is
Hulk, but he's only 5 feet tall. Anakin Skywalker after drinking half a bottle of cough syrup.
This is the crossover that actually we should have answered in the last question.
Marvel versus Star Wars.
Yep.
Yo, that would be sick, actually.
So I need more questions answered here. I need to know which Anakin. Are we talking about little boy Annie that flies around pod racers? And he had a half a bottle of cough syrup because that kid's going to be knocked out.
Anakin at his most powerful. Anakin at his most powerful.
Anakin at his most powerful versus a 5 foot Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Well, but also, is the cough syrup a power up? Do you get extra abilities because you have cough syrup? Maybe he's like a little bit more reckless because he's like not entirely awake. Maybe he's a little bit high on whatever's in the cough syrup.
Sure.
So now he's like extra, like he's just willing to do whatever now, even more than usual.
So,
Or is it bad because he's got a cough and he needs to take
here's how I feel about this. If you look at the most powerful Jedi and the most powerful Sith Lords, their greatest power doesn't match the Incredible Hulk. I don't care what height he is. I feel like he would try to force push or pull or choke the Hulk, and he would just laugh and walk through it and crush Anakin immediately.
Oh, the Incredible Hulk are we even talking about here? There's like multiple versions of Hulk.
Oh,
This?
It's a 5 foot tall one. That's the version. That's the version.
Is it not? It's not green. It's not gray. It's not like
it could be Red Hulk, Gray Hulk, Green Hulk. It doesn't matter. I think he just walks up to Anakin trying to use Force powers and pops his head like a pimple. Like it's done.
Okay. However, I feel that Anakin could use Force power to just not be there. You can be very mobile with proper application of the Force.
Sure,
but powerful. But
Hulk
is also super fast.
Yeah, Hulk is mobile too.
Yeah, Hulk is mad fast, dude.
But versus a Jedi with, I mean, you see how Yoda hops around the room, how much mobility he can have. Like, do you think that Hulk is gonna nail down full strength Anakin Skywalker, who's a little loopy, he's a little crazy out here,
a little gone off that scissor,
little scissor?
No, see, here's the thing is, I think Anakin would just look at Hulk and be like, Hulk, I actually love the Abomination more than you. And then Hulk would just instantly die, and he'd be like, Anakin, you're breaking my heart, and he dies of a broken heart, so...
Nope. Hulk smash. Hulk no fair. Yeah, I just... And also, lightsabers can't even cut through Beskar. Do you really think they're going to cut through the Incredible Hulk? That dude snapped life into existence like God.
I did not even mention the lightsaber, because the first thing I thought was like, well, lightsaber is not going to cut it versus Hulk.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah. So I think Annie is done.
Look, see, here's the thing. This is the main question. If Anakin starts to lift Hulk up into the air, right? I mean, you could just move stuff. Would Hulk be able to just do this and the wind would knock Anakin over? Probably.
Yeah. Also, the fact...
This is not Maximum Hulk. Like, yeah, there's some versions of Hulk where he basically dies and comes back to life almost, right?
Yeah.
But this is not that Hulk. This is the 5 foot Incredible Hulk. Usually Hulk is like a good couple feet taller than that.
But
or even more.
That doesn't, and it doesn't mean his strength is lowered. He'd still be able to punch the blob, hold the punch, and finally move the blob, which is the only time the blob has been moved, right? So
I don't think 5 foot tall Incredible Hulk's doing these things. He's a smaller Hulk. He's not.
Have you seen
the Incredible Hulk does get stronger the bigger he gets and the angrier he gets. That's how the thing did beat Hulk in a fight by hitting him and knocking him out before he got too angry. Like, that is a thing. So this is tiny Hulk, right?
What if this is just like chilled out Hulk? He's sipping some tea, he's just having a good... And then Anakin comes in, and before Hulk even knows what happens, Anakin comes in as Darth Vader, comes in and does the Force choke, and whoop!
Well, I mean, I don't think he could even choke. I don't think the Force is strong enough to choke the Hulk.
What does that mean, the Force isn't strong enough?
That means a tiny Hulk would not have his skin is too thick. He can't. No.
And also, may I remind you, David, Spud Webb won the slam dunk contest, okay? 5 foot doesn't matter, dude. He had the power and the hops.
That's true.
So I'm telling
you. You think the Hulk can't do that? Come on.
I think the Hulk could dunk. Yes, I do think.
That's what I'm saying. Like, come on.
I don't think that 5 foot tall Hulk is as powerful as like 7.5 or whatever foot tall Hulk. No. I mean, like, definitionally, right? Like, he is...
I mean, yeah, like, that's his thing. The bigger he gets, the stronger he is. However, tiny Hulk, like, the smallest version of Hulk, is still, like, about as strong as like Thor. Like he's mad strong. I think Hulk absolutely wipes the floor. I don't think it would be much of a fight. I think it would end pretty instantly.
Anyway, obviously Hulk destroys Anakin Skywalker. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
Definitely a destruction.
Yeah, it's fine.
His cough syrup is not going to power him up enough for this.
No, it's gonna make him worse. Honestly.
Hulk would just jump onto a hill, and Anakin would ignore the fact that Hulk has the higher ground, and he would die. He would be dead.
Well, maybe Anakin pre-crisis Anakin, but like, come on, like once he's Darth Vader, like he's learned that lesson. That's not gonna work.
Me and my friend were joking that there should, you know how Robot Chicken did the Star Wars specials, right? Like they should have a whole Star Wars special where like Boba Fett is shooting at, you know, Darth Vader from off like on a scaffolding or something like that, and the Emperor walks up to Darth Vader and goes, "Vader, get him!" And Vader just like sits there and he's like cowering. He's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, he has the higher ground, you know. Like, and then they just keep doing that over and over again because he's traumatized about the higher ground for the rest of his life, dude. I think that would be amazing.
I feel like this question, Hulk is just one of those characters where it's like not much where you can be like, yeah, Hulk definitely loses to this.
He's pretty
Not a
OP.
lot of that.
He's pretty
OP.
I mean, he's basically invincible. I mean, the whole reason why they had that opening scene of Thanos beating the crap out of Hulk was
made him look like a jobber.
Yeah, basically was that. So
Let you know that Thanos is OD.
yeah. All right, let's move on. Saint Cola asks, "What's your worst commentary moment?"
I am 100% not answering this question because my worst commentary moments are me not being able to figure out the bad commentary matchup. And if I had to talk about that, people are going to know who they were, and I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Oh,
Interesting. Okay.
There's been two moments I can think of in my head where they were so bad that I couldn't even carry them. And I just don't want to hurt their feelings.
Okay.
well, okay. I don't think that I have that many that really stand out to me as being like a worst, like awful. That is to say that like that I or my co-commentator like said something terrible, or you know, I mean, I've gotten things wrong plenty of times. I have flubbed big moments sometimes. I can think of a couple examples where it's like the like tournament winning moment. Somebody just won whatever big major we were at, and in fact, I think this might have been Evo, where I said that Justin Wong beat somebody else who he had just lost to in Marvel, or something. It was something like that. I just got whoever like won Marvel at Evo that year. Like I was like, congratulations to the other guy, like right away. I think that actually was like I congratulated PR Balrog for beating Viscant. Like it was something real stupid, but whatever. It's like a stupid flub. I think what stuck with me for longer was the time that I was commentating with Mike Ross, and I got goaded into talking about things that were like kind of silly in the same way that Mike was. But what I ended up saying was that Zangief versus Sagat is a 5-5 matchup, and in Street Fighter. And like immediately when I said it, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, "Well, that was stupid," like right away. But I wanted to stick with it because you know Mike and I were joking around a lot, and I wanted to like keep up with like the let's mess around, we're having a jokey time, and so I like just like I was with obviously Anakin Skywalker loses to Hulk, but it's like I got to keep it up for the show or whatever.
Right,
It just came out. So that moment stuck with me because it was like me losing the Mike Ross matchup. And in fact, that was one of the things that made me start thinking about matchups at all in the first place in a fighting game context. That question, like, why was it that with this particular commentator, why did I say something so weird? I've never done that before, nor since. Like, was it about that like made me react differently? Why did I deal with this differently than always? So that was honestly like the kind of beginning of me even thinking about it as matchups. So it had a really big impact in terms of how I then learned from it. But you know, again, is that like awful? It's not super bad.
Are you sure it wasn't about the time about riding something and something about Canada or something like
And
that?
that big old Canadian car.
That was
That definitely did not sound like car.
that was genius. I'm so happy that it came out like cock. That was I didn't need it to be.
That was my favorite David moment. I was crying laughing.
As soon as I found out that people misheard that as big Canadian cock, I was like, "That's the best."
I remember I was texting David. I was like, "Did you just say that?" And I think he responded, "Say what?" I was like, "You just said keep riding that big Canadian cock." He's like, "No, I didn't."
I was like, "Hey." Nuh-uh.
Yeah, because David said
that's hilarious.
because the way you said it, you were like, "Oh, he was riding that big Canadian cock." You know what I mean? Like you said, you cut off the car, and it just came out that way. So I mean, I was there was just a tweet that I just saw about The Sound of Music, where they're like, "Oh, my favorite scene in The Sound of Music is when this nun calls Maria a sea face," but it's like she says, "What is it you can't face?" Is what she says.
What is it you cannot face?
Yeah,
What is it you cannot face?
Yes, but it sounds exactly like it when you actually hear it. And
that's good.
I watched it. I was like, I had to rewind it. I was like, wait, what is she actually saying? Right? So, oh god, it was kind of funny. My worst commentary moment, I'm just glad that, first year Evo commentary is nowhere to be found anywhere anymore. Because it was one of the things that I've always regretted saying on commentary. Obviously, we were brand new and everything like that. And we didn't really know what we were doing and stuff like that. But there was a girl playing on stream, and I made some off-color joke about her, and it was just like, after I even said it, like, I just regretted it. And I was just like, my God, like, why did I even go there? Like, that was awful. And it was very early on, and I've never done it again. And I'm glad that there's no evidence of it anywhere. So let's just put it that way.
Just you wait. Somebody's going to dig it up now, James.
Yeah. I don't think you can. I don't think it exists out there, honestly.
Yeah, it might not.
Yeah, it doesn't even exist out there anymore.
Early commentary, I think, had a lot of mistakes. I'm sure this is like the same case for everybody who begins to commentate. Early, you have a lot of mistakes, and sometimes you say really stupid off-color stuff like that. Sometimes you get goaded in a bad matchup, or sometimes you just like don't know how to do it yet, and you're still learning. I mean, that was the case for us as well, right? We took a long time to learn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not me. I was already the best, but you guys took a long time to learn.
Yeah. Took a while. Next question here from Jiggly Purin. What hobbies or skills have you picked up during quarantine? For non-gaming related. For example, I became a better-ish home cook this year due to not going out to eat as much.
Lots of crying. I became real good at crying. Laying in bed for 6-7 hours at a time after I've been awake. Man, what other hobbies have I picked up? That's letting my apartment just become absolutely destroyed due to depression. Like, I honestly, man, I've done nothing with this time but what I've always done. So, and at a much worse level. I wish I could say I picked up something new, but I haven't. Maybe I play like more single player video games now, but that's not really a skill. I've done that my whole life.
Yeah.
But
I'm right there with you, dude. Seriously.
Yeah.
Although I did carve my first pumpkin ever on stream, as someone has
That's
mentioned.
true. I watched that.
Which is actually really funny. I did pick up playing the piano again a little bit, though I wish I did more. But probably the one that I'm most happy about was just really getting into this layout creation, the stuff that I've been able to do for this web page. I mean for this overlay as a web page, right? I mean, like, it's really cool, and it's controlled by, I learned how to use stream control and everything like that. It's really cool. Like, this is all a web page. This is an HTML page. If I click this away, there goes the web page, right? I mean, all of that and the way that the things move. I actually kind of want to subscribe and try to maybe see if we have some money in the UC coffers to subscribe so that the animation stuff that I use for this, because right now the text just fades in. I want to actually make it do fancier stuff and things like that. So
yeah, do it.
There's actually a lot of things that I really enjoyed doing this, and that's when I got to make my Soul Calibur token holder thing.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
was so proud of the fact that I could make it so that the tokens were randomly rotated, so that they weren't all just face up. That when they're put into the
Sure.
token holder, they're random every time. Like, that's probably the thing
That is
that
cool.
I've been, because it also brought me back to what I did enjoy about programming. Right? It's not programming, but it's enough programming that you still have to do all the logic and all that stuff like that. So I really, really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that part, and I really want to kind of get more into making overlays and doing cool things like that.
Cool,
So
man.
yeah. So that's probably mine.
As far as me, what did I do this year? I started to get a little bit back into politics again. I did a bunch of marching, which was nice because I hadn't done that in a while. I've been doing it for 20 years off and on, but like I hadn't done it in a while, certainly. So it was nice to get back to doing that. And I've joined a couple local organizations that, we were talking about how to do just like local politics stuff. Wrote some campaign stuff for local mayoral candidate. Like I got back into it in some ways. I did some phone banking as well. I like that. That was something I missed doing. And I did a bunch of stuff, dude. I did a lot on my own stream layouts and stuff like that. I've really had a fun time with that. I've been reading books more again.
Splitbox, right?
I haven't done anything on the Splitbox this year.
Oh,
but
really?
The
Okay.
previous year, I obviously did a lot, which was really fun for me as well.
So I have no concept of time. I completely forgot that's a 2019 thing. So.
I absolutely get it. And then I feel like there's other stuff. Yeah, I have been cooking more, which has been cool. I've learned a little bit more about that. Oh, I wrote like a 30 pages of notes on commentary theory, and then started teaching lessons in commentary, which I think is pretty fun as well. Anyway, I mean, I feel like I've done a bunch of stuff, which is cool. It's not really how I thought the year would go, that's for sure, but still found some ways to do things I enjoyed.
Where did Brandon go?
I assume he went a pee-pee.
Okay. Well, the next question here, we'll repeat it when Brandon gets back here again, from Blue is, how do you eliminate, well, let me read it the long form. How do you eliminate the stigma of people believing that improving at fighting games is essentially about learning a specific order of buttons to press?
Well, I mean, it is sometimes, isn't it? It is sometimes about pressing buttons in a specific order if you're going for a combo, but yeah, I think this is something that a lot of us have thought about over the years, because other game communities, especially earlier on in the esports era, would kind of rag on fighting games as just being like button mashing and not seeing the bigger strategy behind it. I thought about that quite a lot for a while, until I think I ultimately stopped, because I was ultimately like, it doesn't matter to me like what other people think about it. I just kind of quit thinking about it. I mean, look, I feel it's not a big stretch to tell people that it is about the space between the characters, which it really is. That's what it's about. It's about decision making and where you are on screen and what you can do in these different spots on screen. And once you point that out to people, in my experience at least, people have noticed that in a way that they hadn't before. They hadn't really thought about that side of where you are on screen. And yeah, it's always been the case for me that once I show that to people, they go, oh, interesting. And then they kind of do notice it from there on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was trying to teach someone how to play fighting games, and I knew that she was really big into Dark Souls. And so I told her, you know how when you approach an enemy, you kind of walk in and try to back out of the range, or they swing and miss, and then you go and attack them. As soon as I explained that to her, she was like, whoa, like, she just thought it was just hitting a bunch of buttons and everything like that. So, God, I still even remember in X-Men versus Street Fighter, this was at a Tragic the Gathering, I think the first Tragic the Gathering. We were playing X-Men versus Street Fighter on someone's super gun at Tragic's house. And one of the people I was playing against in X-Men versus Street Fighter, I was just kicking their ass, basically. And people were like, God, James is really good at this game. And then the guy was like, I could memorize a sequence of buttons too. And everybody there just laughed at him. I mean, everybody was just laughing. They're like, whatever, dude. Like, seriously, come on. I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, I don't know if the reason why everyone thinks that is because it's what Gerald said in his video, in his Core Gaming video, where he showed the footage of Bart Simpson swinging his hands, right? It's like when people don't know how to fight, the first thing they do is just
you just swing.
Yeah, right? I mean, you don't tackle people from behind and you know, like sit on them and smack them in the face like Tubo.
Unfortunately, that wasn't my first fight.
Okay, that's fair.
Unfortunately.
But like, that's when they go to fighting games, that's what they feel like they do, right? And then there are those games like Tekken back in the days that, you know, kind of sometimes rewarded that. That's why they put in the 10-hit strings and stuff, because you could just hit buttons and things would come out and stuff like that. And so it doesn't feel like to them that they have any sort of level above that. To me, to get rid of that stigma is about getting fighting games more popular and having commentators be smart about that. I've always said one of the goals is, you know, when you see LeBron James run through like 7 people and then dunk the ball and like nobody can do anything, you don't have to know basketball. You just assume it's amazing. It's on SportsCenter. That's what we want in fighting games, you know, and let's just put it this way. The Daigo Parry moment is a perfect example of that. The way the audience reacted to the Daigo Parry moment, nobody who watches that thought that whatever Daigo did must have been easy to do. Because that audience could not have reacted that way if what he did was easy. You know what I mean? So if we can just get to that point where it gets popular enough, that stigma will go away. Until we get there, there's basically nothing we can do to fight it, in my opinion.
Man, I mean, esports in general have to fight to get to that point.
Right.
You know, at least in America. I mean, there's places like Korea where they take StarCraft and things like that very seriously, and they're very well respected for it. But in America, that's, you know, you still see every year the tweets that happen when there's video games on ESPN and the boomers just can't stand it, you know? So,
and then they get hooked.
Take a long time to get there.
And they get hooked. I mean, every time
Sometimes,
Tetris ends up on ESPN, everyone's always like, "Why did I? Oh my god! Like I can't stop watching Tetris." You know, it's crazy. And
Tetris is more universal, I think,
true.
for people to see and understand than other games. But it's got a long way to go to get there.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too, because you know I forgot what the point that I was trying to make here. Okay, forget it. Anyways, I lost that, so too bad.
Well, we should probably make it fast at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm so hungry, I'm gonna die.
Okay, let's just skip putting them on the screen then here. I'm just gonna skip that for now and just read it out. Okay, next question here is from These Days, DAZE, is who was your Spotify top 5 most played artists of 2020?
I think mine was... I know one of them was Kevin Sparks. He was number 3 on mine. Okay. And that's a FGC member. Oh, cool. He makes super dope music. You guys should check it out. I mean, I tweeted it out when I saw that. But yeah, Kevin Sparks, if you like synthwave type hip hop, like real lo-fi beats and stuff like that, check him out. Not Music Soul Child. What's his face? I can't even. Dude, I'm tired. It's late. I can't think. Okay. Kevin Sparks was one of mine. There you go. That's what you get.
David.
I don't have Spotify.
What are you, like 90? What's wrong with you? Do you use Apple Music or something?
I mean,
I just don't really listen to that much music.
You don't use God, David. That's crazy. I mean, everybody.
You're a weirdo. You're a weirdo. Get out of here, you weirdo.
Everybody uses Spotify these days. So
it's probably like, let's see, The Dollop and Hardcore History and Democracy Now. I don't know. That's probably my top 3.
Well, my top 5 Spotify is I don't use Spotify. So
both of you are just old men, both of you.
Are you 90?
I've actually thought about turning it on. I thought about doing it because I figured out what series it was, but one of the video game series has all of their music on Spotify, and it kind of made me want to go and sign up for it. So
most video game series have their music on Spotify.
So there was, I forgot.
And if you have a Facebook account, you already have a Spotify account, my dude.
I mean, I already have one anyway because that's what I use to get our Spotify stuff up, right? So.
Well, yeah, I'd say we also have a podcast on there.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys know that, but it's there.
Okay. Next question is Captain Nemo 726. Will James continue the First Attack series in 2021? The intention is yes. I'm still trying to figure out how to do it because, weirdly enough, the fact that First Attack is evergreen, more people are finding it now. I'm getting a lot more responses these days about First Attack than I did when I first put them up. And so I'm thinking about continuing it. I'm not sure if I want to do it differently. So I don't know how to make anything short. So I don't know if I can, but I'll see what I can do. If people have any recommendations on what I can do to make it more digestible, shorter format, or if somebody out there can help me be an editor on that stuff, that would also be like I could stream it and then someone could edit it down. Because for me, editing my own content is like asking me to choose my own favorite child. You know, it's just like I don't know what to cut out because everything is absolutely vital to me. Like David edited one of my videos one time and he cut out a bunch of stuff and all of it was like, but he was right. You know, it was like, you have to do that. I don't have the capability. I like, again, it's the whole Chidi Anagonia thing. I cannot, like, I am the worst at doing that kind of stuff. So, the Shelfables asks, why do you think communities only seem to appreciate Jasmine, an entry in a series after it's no longer the current entry? It's a pattern in most long-running fighting game series I've seen, and it's mad annoying. Why do you think communities only seem to appreciate an entry in a series after it's no longer the current in?
I don't think that's right. I think instead what happens is that people tend to take a couple years, especially for games that change substantially in between the games that come out. Yeah, that is certainly the case, right?
Right.
Whenever there's a new Street Fighter or NRS game, or when Xrd came out, or whatever, right? Like, that always takes a while. That doesn't surprise me. It's most of the people who were playing at the end of the previous game were people who really enjoyed it. Why else would they stick around? The new game comes out. People aren't playing the previous game anymore. It's not the same. You're frustrated. I really liked the last game. This one's different. And then eventually, either you stop playing the game because you didn't like it, or you begin to notice, actually, this game is also cool. It's got its own things. It's different, but it's got its own stuff that I also really like. And that process just doesn't take, it's just not right away. It just takes a little while.
It also happens to a lot of the newer players more that haven't gone through that experience yet, transitioning games. So
that's
also, don't forget that games are provided as a service nowadays. So a lot of times the season 1 of a game doesn't look like season 3.
That's
so
true.
You can hate season 1 and then all of a sudden, they made some changes to the game that make sense. I like the game now. That happens often nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
Let's fire them off here.
Sundowner FGC. If there were 2 dudes on the moon and one killed the other with a rock, would that be fucked up or what?
Yep, sure would.
Sure would. This is my favorite question of the whole night.
I don't
something
know.
I would ask.
Look, I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, what's the backstory, right?
I was just gonna say, we don't know what the story is here.
We don't
Maybe
have.
the guy,
we need the previous 2 minutes of the cell phone footage to figure out if it was justified for the guy killing the other guy with the rock. So
I mean, no matter what happens, the situation is fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it was a fight to the death and there was no escaping. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we're moving on.
Yeah.
Genius question.
I mean, it would be okay if it was a twisted tea can. In any case, Sean Tamura asked, "What was your favorite FGC Twitter clip of 2020?" Here's an example, and I don't know what the example is.
It was Rob TV falling out of his chair was the example.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, it was him like not knowing how Ryu Super works and then getting surprised and falling back in the chair.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty great for sure. And I don't know. I don't think I have. This is like a lot of research questions.
Yeah.
I can tell you mine, and mine was recent.
I actually know mine. Yeah, go on.
Mine is the guy who's been playing piano. He has his piano programmed as a fight stick, and he's been playing music while doing combos. And he did the Iron Man 2 MVC2 Infinite,
That's right.
or MVC2 Iron Man Infinite. That was by far my favorite. I thought that was so cool because
drum
the
kit.
beat of the combo was actually sick.
It actually was.
Like it played a real good song, so I thought that was really cool.
He was. Oh, was that Akito? Was that actually Akito, the guy who does the music during our breaks? Oh, okay. So that was just Akito loves music then. I mean, to be fair, he added extra buttons in there. I know, I could tell because I'm a combo guy, but you know, he added extra buttons there to give it a little flair, but it was still cool. So. Yeah. I mean, I do think that Macross has a good one. Was Justin almost getting parried again? That clip made me laugh so much. He's like, "Oh God, no! Oh God!" Like
he was sitting there, like, "I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, you got this. You got this. And
Let's go, Justin.
Let's go,
Yeah,
Justin. Oh no!
Yeah.
That clip was pretty great. That clip was pretty
Mine
great.
is when Ajax came into my room as I was streaming.
The
and
Kotaku
bit off
clip.
my video game cord, and then climbed up right here on the desk in front of me and knocked down my lights as well.
Yeah, the Kotaku
So
clip.
good.
Oh man. So DS Mind asks, each of you are stuck in jail for 5 years. Name one system, one fighting game, and one FGC member to be your cellmate for the sentence.
It's Marvel 3, right? We're all gonna say.
Yeah, I think we're all gonna say Marvel 3.
Marvel 3, but who is your cellmate?
I mean, that's hard. I don't know that I'm gonna answer that part.
Mike Ross. Michael Rossington would be my cellmate.
That's your cellmate, Mike Ross?
He wouldn't play Marvel with you at all, right?
But it would
No, he
just
would play
be
it.
hilarious to hang out with him. That's just all it
He
comes
would
down
play
to.
it.
So
He would.
yeah.
I mean, definitely Marvel 3.
Yeah,
And
it's Marvel 3 for sure.
I don't know, man. I don't know who I'd want to be locked up with for 5 years. I love a lot of people.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe it's Keats because he's a really smart fighting game player, but he's one of my best friends in the world. I don't think I could be locked up for 5 years with him without us killing each other.
Dude,
we would go at it.
person. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think I can pick a human. Like that's too much human for one. Like no thanks.
And the fact that it says one FGC member is tough because I would just say my wife. That would be cool. Except she's
She don't play fighters.
don't play fighters.
Yeah.
All right, we move on.
Shay Farsi asks, what FG mechanics do you hate the most and why?
TAC in Marvel 3, no question. It's a guess. There's no skill involved, and it leads to a kill if you're a good player. So yeah, TAC is the worst mechanic of all time. In my favorite game of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, saying comeback mechanics is too vague, so I don't think
It's
that's the right
too
one.
broad.
I mean, for me, I know I'm going to get beat up for this, but I don't like the way that third strike parries are implemented. I don't like the OS ability of them. I don't like the fact
I agree, James.
half the time that people do them, I swear to God, they did it by accident, and you just play it off like you did it on purpose. And I just wish that there was more to it because it's the answer to everything. How do I stop an anti-air parry? How do I stop a jump-in parry? How do I stop getting chip parry? How do I beat a meaty parry? How do I that's the reason why I don't like parries essentially, and they're so prevalent in the mechanic that the tier list is designed literally by how effective is one, can you stop parries, and two, do you have a confirmable off of a middle or a low attack so you have a true 50-50 on them. It's so dominant that the characters, there's no matchups in the game practically. The way that it was always described to me is person A in the tier list beats everybody under them. Person B in the tier list beats C and under. C in the tier list beats D and under. That's just how it is. It's
almost all correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly the case.
Yeah.
I will not claim that this game is perfect, even though it's one of my favorites. I would say Pandora mode. That's terrible.
It was so useless. It was just forgotten about.
Awful.
I forgot that existed. Holy crap.
No one used it. It was useless.
Okay.
Awful mechanic in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. All right, we move on.
Wasik asks, if you were a Mario thwomp, what noise would you make? God, I mean, I need to ask David, right? Jeez.
We already know. David's farting.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think mine would be...
Maybe honk honk. It's either honk
Nah,
honk.
you're definitely.
No, it's got to be a fart. It's got to be a fart noise.
Yeah.
Mine would probably be... fuck? That's probably what mine would be. So
It's like a real long distance that you're following.
Yeah, seriously, man. They know you are coming.
exactly. I think that would be mine. What about you, Tubo?
I don't really have any catchphrases, so I'm just gonna fart along next to David.
Fart along.
Yeah.
Little Cassidy, there you
Oh,
go.
God.
Okay.
Happy to have you on board.
Thanks, man.
Paraclete asks, why aren't there more scandalous outfits for male characters to appeal to female players? Because
Urian?
I mean, there's exceptions
you?
here and there, but the reason is that the people who are making the games are dudes who like to look at girls.
yeah,
That's
and the other reason why too, honestly,
not
is
a good answer, folks.
because that's not what appeals to women, right? I mean, like women, they all went fucking nuts over Cody when he busted through that wall and he was in that vest and the tie. Yeah. Every girl was just like, oh my god, like Hot Ryu may be the only one, right?
Hot Ryu.
But like what do girls swoon over? Like Tuxedo Mask, right? Like that whole idea that dressing a male scandalously, like, oh look, Zangief is showing all skin, so there's just as much female, like, no, dude, it's not the same shit, dude. It is not the same shit. So I would like it to happen only to piss off men. Like, that's why I wanted the Urian intro pose to have him lying down like Sagat statue, and it just like pans by his crotch in like this really close-up zoom, and then like his armpit. Yeah, I wanted to do that. I wanted to do that just to make guys realize what they do to every female character in fighting games, like when Manat does her super and you just get this big close-up of her ass shaking, right? Like, the male gaze in video games is a real thing, and guys don't realize. Like, if you could make the comparison if Zangief was like ha 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 and like bounced his crotch, and you could see his like his junk jiggle in his pants and stuff like that, right? Like,
did you see the mod of Ryu doing Mika's super?
I did.
No.
Yeah, that was good.
He slaps his butt and his little butt jiggles because that's like how it goes.
Oh, that's awesome,
with
dude.
So yeah, things like that I feel like occasionally make us look at how it would look, and it looks absurd.
Yeah.
The only reason it looks absurd when Mika does it, well, it does, is we're just like socialized, we're just conditioned to think like this.
Exactly. So
I always think about the classic pick of like how would a male Mortal Kombat character look if he was dressed like female characters.
Yeah, from the X days. Yeah.
That's a classic one.
Oh, I have not seen that fat guy swapping Revolver Ocelot and Quiet's models during the rain scene. I need to go look that up. So, Freaky Jason asks, MOBAs have a draft system. Why not fighters?
Because it's way harder to learn a fighting game character than it is a MOBA character. Plain and simple.
I mean, we see that kind of going on in Street Fighter League with mixed results, right?
Yeah, I still hate that about Street Fighter League. Just let the players play.
I mean, it was good in some cases, but then like this season, it just turned it into a Seth fest. So,
yeah, it's true.
Windy Man asks, what makes FGC adjacent competitive puzzle action games accepted by the wider FGC? Puyo Tetris, Windjammers, Catherine, etc. Is it merely the focused one-on-one aspect, or is something more to it? A reply to Pixel Freckles' questions about puzzle games at FG tournaments.
Yeah, I think it's a one-on-one aspect. Games like Windjammers have a lot of the same principles of spacing and guesswork, basically. Knowing what your opponent's going to do. I mean, Windjammers, that's one of those games where you might want to argue it's a fighting game. Like, it's pretty damn close in terms of like what you want to do in the principles. So yeah, I think it's just it's the same appeal of one-on-one. I can't blame my teammates for losing. It's on me, and that's how it is.
Yeah, honestly, it's just the competitive nature of it, right? I mean, if you guys watch fighting games, if you've ever been to a fighting game offline tournament, after the tournament's done, people are playing rock, paper, scissors with each other. They're just
That's also because we're degenerate gamblers.
Yeah, they're just trying to take each other's money the entire time. And like I still remember when Fish Sticks was at the first Canada Cup that generated the 895 meme. He was there for Twitch. And after the tournament done, everyone's like, "What room are you playing in? Let's go play!" And they're all running. And he was like, "You guys still play after the tournament's done?" Because like every other scene, I guess when the tournament's done, they all just stop. Like that was a legit question. I was like, dude, we can't stop competing. Like that's the FGC. And so we will try to be better at everything than each other in the FGC. That's just what it is. And so if it's Catherine, if it's Puyo Tetris, if it's rock, paper, scissors, if it's betting on the timer is going to be odd or even, it doesn't really matter. You know, they're just super competitive. Staring contest. I've seen races, dude. There was the footage of the race where someone actually plowed through a wall because the room divider at the hotel wasn't strong enough, you know. It was
Sonic permanently ruined a building racing too. he need at Frosty at the old Frosty Faustings venue. He need the wall outside, and that dent was there until we stopped going there. I can only assume that dent is still there. But me too, man.
It's awesome, dude. So okay, Trajan Viridis. Or Trajan Viridis asks, it is 150,000 years ago, and Cylons threaten to infiltrate and end humanity. You are trying to gather the Tuesday Show cast. What does each of you say to the other to prove that you are still you?
I remember. You remember what kind of video I turned on in the hotel room at Vegas that one year?
Yep, I sure do.
And Yohei just hung out there and watched it the whole time.
Yep.
As the rest of us were shotgunning, or what were the rest of us doing at the same time with beers?
I shouldn't say. A friend of ours has those videos actually. So yeah, that makes sense. That would work for James and I. I don't know about James though.
I would just walk up to you and be like, "Hey, how's everybody going?" Because the Cylons would just be like, "That does not compute grammatically." So that's all I would say. So
That works.
what about you, Tubo?
I mean, David and I think that's like legit. That's like straight up. Only we would know about that.
Okay.
So
okay.
If I could prove myself to David can confirm to you that.
Okay, all right.
Fair.
All right. A secondhand confirmation.
All right.
Yeah.
And here we are at the last question. Whew. Brandon Flowers asks, what is your most gratifying accomplishment of your FGC career, be in or out of game?
My most gratifying was getting selected to commentate at EVO. I had a group of friends who I don't talk to anymore for other reasons, but they basically told me I was a fool for pursuing fighting game stuff and esports stuff, in so many words. And I don't even think any of them even know that I commentated EVO, and really I don't give a shit. But the fact that I did it, it just made me feel like, yep, I knew I would, and there I was. I did it. So,
well, I'm not sure that they were wrong about wise to pursue a career in fighting game tournaments. But
I mean,
I was about to say, Jesus, David, what the hell?
It was more along the lines of you'll never accomplish it, not like it's stupid to do it.
Okay. All right. Well, congrats. That's cool.
I was about to say, David. God damn, dude. Oh man.
They were right. Get off the show, Tobo.
Yeah. Jeez. Okay. What about you, David?
In terms of player career, I mean, I'm coming up on the stage. Actually, I guess I'm already there, where I have not been an active competitor just as long as I was an active competitor. So that's, it's a long time ago at this point.
Dang.
And I mean, and in that era, the time that I stopped, it wasn't the way that it then soon after became, where there were like majors all the time, and you can travel around and like make money. Like when I stopped, it was still like we were playing locals really, and there was the occasional major, but like it was a couple times a year. So I don't feel like I really ever had like I did the big thing at the big major. I won a bunch of locals versus players who then did get like top 8 at Evo, or who did win other majors after traveling became common. But I never really had that myself. So I think it would just be like winning locals. I don't know. And as far as commentating, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it says be it in or out of game, so it doesn't have to be commentary.
But just for the second part of it, I mean, my perspective on this is weird because I didn't have to like work to become the commentator that got the gigs. I just happened to be the guy who got the gigs. It was just a complete. James and I were just in the situation where it was just like, hey, there's no commentary. It doesn't exist. To we're the ones who are doing the commentary. Like it was just there's no.
I mean, for me, I wrote all those FAQs and strategies, so there was a reason that they pulled me on there. So
of course. And same for me. I used to write
speak for yourself, David. No, I'm just kidding.
as far as like working up to be the big commentator, like we just were in a very unusual position of not having to do that. So like some of my first commentary gigs are like Evo, like right away. And so I've just been doing it the whole time, and it doesn't feel like it's unusual because I'm, again, just in this really like unusual and unique position. But I nevertheless have like always appreciated really being able to do Evo top 8 commentary and Pro Tour Grand Finals commentary. Like I appreciate that. I think my perspective on it is probably different than somebody who would have had to work up to it in the first place.
Interesting. I mean, for me, it's really, I don't know, man. Like, this is a hard one to narrow it down to. But, I was just thinking about all the stuff that has happened in my FGC career. I've been doing this for so long. There's a lot of things, 2-hit combo videos, FAQs, being recognized in random places. Being recognized at Disneyland in front of my parents was probably a pretty big one because for the longest time, my parents were always like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then this person walked up to me and was like, are you James Chen? I was like, yeah. They're like, oh my God. Like, he was with his wife and their baby. He's like, can I take a picture with you and my wife and my baby and everything? And he just looked at my parents. He's like, is this your son? He is a god. Like, and all this stuff like that. And afterwards, my mom was like, oh, I'm so proud of you, And honestly, hearing my mom say that might be one of my most proudest accomplishments, honestly. But, I mean, if I really had to go with the answer, I hate traveling. I've never wanted to travel, but thanks to the fighting game community, I have traveled everywhere. I've been to Spain. I've been to Germany. I've been to Japan. I've been to Kuwait. I've been to Chile. I've been to the Dominican Republic. I've been to Canada. I have gone all over the place. And if you haven't traveled to see the different places, to see the different cultures, and find out that everybody is the goddamn same. Like, geek cultures in Kuwait is the same as the geek cultures in Chile, which is the same as the geek cultures here in the United States and stuff. It is so eye-opening. And, Japan, like I said, I love Japan, and being able to experience the world like that and really see that that humans are humans, and learning about that and really starting to appreciate it. I love traveling now. You know what I mean? That's how it's gotten to this point. I freaking love it. And when I get to go to these other countries, like it's fantastic. It's fantastic. And that's probably, for me, to be able to have a list on my phone listing all the different countries I've been to is kind of like a crazy thing. And I'm so grateful for that. Obviously, as David joked, I feel like maybe I have ruined my life by going into esports, because I was making really good money as a programmer and all this stuff like that. But
yeah, but you didn't see the world before that.
That's the thing. If anybody asked me to do it again, rewound it back, I would do the same thing again, because the traveling and all that stuff like that is way more important. I wasn't happy when I had that money anyway, right? So it's like, whatever. at this point. So I would do it again, because just being able to meet people, and obviously there's a little extra factor that everybody knows who you are at these places, and so there are people like, oh, James, you're cool, whatever, like that, and that's nice for the ego and everything, but it gives a way to connect to everybody. And it gives me that ability to make connection with people right away, so I can learn about the country, so I can learn about the people, so I can learn about the world. And that to me is really important. So, and yeah. I will stop talking now before I get emotional.
That's a really good way to end our final
that's a good way to end.
to be honest. It's a very emotional year, super weird year. I don't have great hopes that the beginning of the next year will be different, but I do have pretty strong hopes that the end of next year will be different, at least. So, at least something to look forward to in that regard. As far as this year goes, I guess that's it, right? Anything else y'all want to bring up?
Man, if you live here in the U.S., please be safe, dude. Just be safe, man. Yeah.
Enjoy your New Year's celebration at home, doing nothing at all. Have a beer or wine or whatever by yourself.
For real.
Still.
Well, I think we did it, boys.
Okay. But we're going to come back next year, and things are going to be different, a little bit different, even a week from now. So there are some changes coming into place, and we're going to begin the year off the same way we do every year, with the previous year awards. So we're going to be able to do the 2020 awards, and this time we'll get Tubo's opinion, Brandon's opinion on all of these things. So that'll be a lot of fun. We have categories like Fighting Game of the Year, Moment of the Year, Community Member of the Year, all these things like that. It should be a lot of fun. So
cool.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Time to burn them.
Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for tuning in. Have a happy New Year to those who celebrate the solar New Year's. And take care.
Later, guys.
I'm stalling so I can find the MP3. Here we go. There we go. Okay. You guys can hear it too, right? Yeah. There we go.
Burning.
So.